this time. Tonight is March 17th, 2015. The time is 7:06. And letting me know that all trustees are accounted for this evening. So we do have a quorum. So at this time, let's stand for the pledge. Trustee Stevens, would you lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everyone. We have a full house tonight. Thank y'all for coming out on this St. Patty's Day. And to all you Irish people, happy St. Patty's Day too. We have cupcakes going around for you guys if you would like them. And again, thank you. It's great to have a full house tonight in our new town hall with people who haven't been here before. Good to see you. Okay, are there any additions, deletions, and corrections to this agenda? Okay. At this time, just move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Okay, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, item number 3, consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be pulled out for further review on this? Okay,
Approval. Second.
okay, discussion. Okay, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
This time we have public comment for items not on the agenda. So please stand, state your name, come up to the podium. If you have anything to comment on that isn't on the agenda tonight. Old business, remember my law, old business. No, it's public hearing. Old business, item number 5A. Purchasing policy. Trustee Ellis, is this, do you have any comment on this or?
Yes, I have continued to work on draft, but I don't have anything to present to the board or to discuss this time. Except to say, I believe in review of our current policy, that there are a number of things that need to be improved and covered in a revision. And we can get this, but I'm surely open for anyone else who's doing some work for ideas on this.
Okay, so do we want to put this on the next agenda as well then?
Yes.
Okay, Mary, please see to that. Okay. Board, do you have any comments or anything? Trustee Ellis, thank you for working on this. 5E, trustee liaison positions. This is something that we did not get to last time. And there's a resolution that we had last meeting. Do we have a copy of that, Mary? Okay. I have one copy of that. Or did you bring your copy at all? For the audience, our thought here is that we rotate the trustee liaisons instead of keeping the same trustee with the same employee, that we, rotate them, and that gives the twofold there. It gives the trustees the opportunity to see another department, and at the same time, it gives our department heads the opportunity to really work, with another trustee. So, board, I have this resolution 2015. You know what, Mary, could you go make a couple? Yeah, just make a couple of copies for the board. And I'd like to read that resolution to you guys.
I'll just sit here and speak.
We have cupcakes for you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Welcome. Is there another chair? I know, it's St. Patrick's Day, and you're here at the town hall, so St. Patty's Day with us.
Amen.
Do we have an extra chair?
Now, we got one here.
We have a chair.
Yeah.
There's a chair right here.
Right here. Sure, of course.
Thank you.
He's making copies here for the members. Okay, so this is a resolution, 2015-030-03A, and it's a resolution appointing officers, representatives, and trustee liaisons by the Board of Trustees for the Town of Green Mountain Falls. And I'd like to read this to you guys. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, pursuant to Colorado statute and the Town of Green Mountain Falls Municipal Code, is vested with the authority of administering the affairs of the Town of Green Mountain Falls. Whereas the duties and responsibilities of the Town Board of Trustees are defined in Article 2, Section 2-21 of the Town Municipal Code, and whereas the Town Board of Trustees wishes to make these appointments to carry out its responsibilities and for effective and efficient communication, coordination, accountability, efficiency, and effectiveness of municipal government. Now therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Town of Green Mountain Falls, Colorado, as follows. 1A, Trustee Tyler Stevens is appointed as Mayor Pro Tem. B, Mary Duval is appointed as Town Clerk and Town Treasurer. C, Trustee Ellis is appointed Trustee Liaison for the Police Marshal Department. D, Mayor Worthy is appointed Trustee Liaison for the Judicial and Town Attorney Department. E, Trustee Ellis is appointed as Trustee Liaison for Community and Business Relations to coordinate the town's relationships with the Bronx Days. F, Trustee Quinn is appointed as Trustee Liaison for the Public Works Department. G, Trustee Gardner is appointed as Trustee Liaison for the Parks to coordinate upkeep and support for the town's parks, trails, and open spaces, and to coordinate all requests or activities through the Public Works Trustee. H, Trustee Cook is appointed as Trustee Liaison for the Administrative Department. I, Mayor Pro Tem Stevens, is appointed to represent the town on the Board of Directors for the Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments, to represent the town on the Board of Directors for the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority, and to represent the town on the Community Development Board with Mayor Worthy as an alternate to law. J, Trustee Quinn is appointed to represent the Town of Green Mountain Falls on the Advisory Board to Commission of the Pikes Peak Regional Building Department, and Mayor Worthy as an alternate. And then we have severability, which states if any article, section, paragraph, sentence, clause, or phrase of this resolution is held to be constitutional or invalid, for any reason, such decisions shall not affect the validity or constitutionality of the remaining portions of the resolution. The Board of Trustees hereby declares that it would have passed this resolution in each part or parts therefore, irrespective of the fact that any one part or parts be declared unconstitutional or invalid. And then number 3, repeal existing resolutions or parts of resolutions covering the same matters embraced in this resolution are hereby repealed and all resolutions or parts of resolutions inconsistent with the provisions of this resolution are hereby repealed. This is introduced, resolved, and passed at a regular meeting of the Board of Trustees for the Town of Green Mountain Falls on the 3rd day of March 2015. Board, any questions? Okay,
The Mayor, I'd just like to point out that I drafted this for last meeting, so the clerk's already noted that today is the second. So
Oh,
in
perfect.
her official notes, she's noted that it's today.
Okay.
not the third.
So I should have said on
Move to
17.
approve with
That's what
the
she
corrected date.
Okay. Any discussion, board? All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Very good, thank you. Okay, new business. We have a new administrative assistant for town hall, Renee Price. Yes, welcome, Renee. So, Mary, would you tell a little bit about what you did and how many people you interviewed and all that good stuff?
We got a total of 25 resumes sent in. I chose 12 to interview and put them through a phone interview first and then put them through an hour-long interview, grilled them and grilled them. And then we had a second interview with the board member present and Renee, she won.
So Renee, welcome to Green Mountain Falls. Would you mind just standing for a second and telling us a little bit about your background? You came in you came on St. Patty's Day here, so we have a full house tonight, but just introduce yourself too.
I'm Renee Price. I live in Woodland Park. I am a grandmother of 4 grandsons and a granddaughter on the way who actually lives here in Green Mountain Falls. And I've been married for 31 years. I've done administrative work for 22. I was a church secretary for 13 and a half years, and I just spent the last 5.5 years working for an investigative agency.
Well, welcome. We are so glad to meet you. All of you guys to stop in Town Hall someday and spend time with Renee and Mary, get to know them, and welcome them to our lovely community. So thank you, and thank you for coming tonight. Yes. Okay. Okay, item 6B, audit agreement. Okay, Mary.
I just got that in the mail today, that's why it wasn't sent out prior to, for your review. It's the company that we talked about at our last meeting, and he just made it formal, put it into an agreement. And,
Yeah, so for our citizens, we are we looked at different auditing companies and Stockman, Cast, and Ryan. And they are located in Colorado Springs, is that correct, Mary?
yes,
Okay, and Mary's met with them and we feel it necessary to, we've had the same auditing firm for, well, how many years?
forever.
Forever. And so we find it necessary to get a new auditing firm in here and take a look at stuff. And so, Board, we did look at this last time. Do you have any questions for Mary? Matt, have you taken a look at this? Are you?
No, I don't. Is this the one with
That came today. That's the official agreement of
Yeah,
what the
I-
email is.
I have not had time to review it.
Okay.
But it looks like the,
So if the board's inclined to increase it, you can always make it subject to a contract that's acceptable to the town attorney. So that we can argue about liability and what they're gonna do.
so moved. Second.
Any discussion, Board?
So this looks like it is in the same range that we talked about last week, 75 to 8,500. And is that for 3 years? Okay.
we're paying
14,000.
14,000, so this should be a good thing. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Trustee Garner, you noticed today, fair, May 4th.
The estimated time that they're going to be starting the audit, May 4th, 2015.
And that will give us time to satisfy all the requirements there.
Correct, we don't have, they want to have the audit finalized by June 30th to present to the board. Our audit has to be filed with the state by July 31st. So they're giving the board 30 days to review it.
Okay, any other discussion? Call for a vote now. All those in favor vote the same aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much, Mary. Thank you again for your time on this. Okay, item number C is the Blue Moose minor encroachment request. Carla, who is not here today, but we have a representative. I'm wondering if you could come and just stand right over here, so the camera's crazy here. Okay, you can state your name and your address, medication.
My personal address or the address of the bar?
Just your personal.
Oh, okay.
Because you're representing Carla.
I'm Taylor Pryor. My address is 2825 West Beach Street.
I'm sorry, what's the name of this?
West Bijou.
And
Taylor Pryor.
thank you.
Okay, so Taylor, you are representing Carla tonight. We have some information. Anyone want to weigh in on this? Do you have anything to say, Matt? I know you guys did this last summer as well.
Yeah, it's essentially a two-step process. In order to be granted a liquor license in the state of Colorado, you need to have a local license as well as a state license. In order to get a state and local license, you have to show that you have control of premises for more than a year or more. In this case, the minor encroachment agreement, which drafted last year, gives the Blue Moose access to the inside of the bar as well as the patio that encroaches into the town's property, essentially at the owner, Carla's discretion. Then Area B, which is defined as, I believe, up to I think it's 80 square feet, 800 square feet. That's subject to specific dates that this board approves. If the board does it all at once, as the application shows, then Blue Moose actually just gives one temporary license rather than having to go to the state each time and get a license. Each time the state issues a temporary license, they charge the liquor license $150 to put it up, essentially put a piece of paper on the wall that says you're good to go today, and $150 to take it down. So to circumvent that process, the board previously had looked at these dates and said, yes, that's fine with us. That doesn't bind Carla to do it, it just allows her to do it that day. So if it's really bad out, she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't have to. And then the state actually grants her one temporary license for those days. At the time that we did this last year, we didn't have a town clerk, so I got a larger education than I probably needed in doing this, but so we're actually now, the board's faced with granting her access as I previously described, what is known as Area B, and that's what she does is her temporary fencing and on those dates. Once the board's contemplated that, then the next step is actually to decide whether you're going to either renew her license, which she's just submitted an application, and there's a couple of things that are just minor changes that we'll need to, I can work with her on, or certainly Mary can too. The second step of that is to either decide whether you want to renew the license or set it for a hearing. Those are your only two options. You can't summarily deny a liquor license renewal. Your options are either to renew it or to set it for a hearing. And if you were to set it for a hearing, you need to post it. And typically, those are set for hearings if there's been violations like that, where the state's come down and there's local law enforcement has had issues or things like that. So rather than hear a bunch more from me, I just want to ask your chief on that, maybe even before you decide if you want to grant her the ability to use the town area B, and then certainly what has you contemplate either setting for a hearing or renewing her liquor license. Before you decide to renew her liquor license, you need to actually exit the public meeting and sit as the local licensing authority with liquor license. So you guys wear all your different access and the other packages on the night.
Is that true as well of the additional areas as well?
No, the encroachment agreements between the town board of trustees and the Blue Moose Urging Group LLC doing business as Blue Moose. So that decision is made sitting as the board of trustees. The decision to either set the matter, which in this case is a liquor license renewal, is done as the liquor licensing authority.
And we need to enter into a.
Yeah. So I can walk you through it. Right now, you're sitting in the board of trustees deciding if you want to allow her to use the bar area B, which is up to 800 square feet on the dates that are proposed.
24 by 48. I don't know what you said.
Yeah, I think that was what I was talking. There's a few clerical. Yeah.
Okay.
It is the round number. It's not the.
So we're not increasing any sizes from last year.
I would suggest you don't, because that's what the state currently shows. So I think that may just have been a typographical error that I can resolve with her as well.
So there's 3 areas that we're talking about. There's the bar area, there's the patio, which is A, which we have a diagram and it's indicated as 606 square feet on the diagram. And then there's this area B, which you're indicating is 800 square feet approximately, which is of what dimensions?
Yeah, the dimensions, the way the encroachment agreement is written, because we anticipated that she may at some point need to make it thinner and longer versus
So it's
with a square footage cap, and so that's the reason he got exactly what I said a while ago, which is it's 800 square feet. It's not necessarily a set dimension, it's just a maximum, which means that if she for some reason only needs 400, she can use 400. She can use up to 800.
And while presumed, I don't think it's articulated, that needs to be directly adjacent.
No, that's, and that word, the adjacentness and the access is something that again, you guys determine as the local licensing authority as well as the state determines. Your regulations are much more lax than the state's.
But that
So,
800 feet can't be in the park or something.
no, and
It needs to be touching.
that's not something that you guys would enforce. I'm sure that Tim saw it, but the state is hammers that down too, to say, you need to control. And they set the number of people that can occupy the space that they have the access to. So no, it wouldn't be separate. It needs to be adjacent to, but that's not because of the agreement between the town. That's just because of the state.
Chief, is there anything that we need to be aware of?
No, I submitted a letter earlier this week, should be with your information. No incidents, no concern.
I remember last year there was a drawing of that area.
Yeah, I believe it's actually attached as exhibit either A or B. I think B to the agreement, to the original agreement.
Does it just have an area outline?
left.
The diagram here just indicates the bar area.
That's not the same.
Yeah,
Patio A.
and I think that when we submitted to the state, you said, you know, it's generally this area, but granted, she has the right to the premises, that may change and may curve and may be longer. So when I sat down with, I explained that, you know, this isn't necessarily a fixed position, it's not the scale, it's simply just where it's intended to be, but the board, it's given her the access to the premises up to 800 square feet, and that, for all intents and purposes, satisfies the requirement.
So which do we do first?
So currently, you're sitting as the town board of trustees that needs to decide whether you would like to approve the dates proposed by the zoo crew doing business as Blue Moose for use of the premises on the dates in question, which are, I believe, May 23rd, 24th, July 4th and 5th, July 8th, July 18th, August 1st, September 5th, times from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m.
I don't know if we have any, well, I'm sure there's events going on.
Right.
Nothing on my contract.
Move approval of the dates for access to Area B as submitted.
Madam Mayor, we have some input from the Bronte Committee before you vote for your consideration. At our Bronte Committee last meeting, we discussed the expanded area for Blue Moose. And the Bronte Committee, one reason we hold Bronte is to bring people into town to support our retail businesses. We have no objection to expanding their retail sales area, but there were some problems last year. The first time they held their event, they blocked the sidewalk from the parking lot for customers trying to reach the Lucky Duck and Ducky's Cafe. There was some rumble about that, so the second time they had it expanded, they opened it up, they moved the fence back. But the third time, they blocked it again. So if you approve Area B, please do it with the condition that they will not block the public sidewalk. The second concern that our board talked about was during Bronte Day, we spent quite a bit of money to hire an entertainer in the pavilion, Buck Goucher. Everybody loves him. This last Bronte Day, the Blue Moose had live music on their patio, which interfered with his performance. So we'd like to ask, as a courtesy, if you would not have live music on your patio on Bronte Day. Also, for the attorney, I thought there was something in their special use agreement that did not allow live bands on their patio.
But it had to do with acoustics, but
But I could be mistaken, but
no, it does address something.
but Carla, if you could just not have a live band on Bronte Day.
I will mention it to Carla.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're not Carla.
Mr. Brad, do you have times when that performance is scheduled?
We start at about 10 o'clock, he plays all day till 2. After 2 o'clock, it's free.
So you'd be okay with them doing it past?
Yeah,
past 2 o'clock?
after two.
So after 2 o'clock, have that.
So,
That's-
Madam Mayor, I'd move
Yes.
amendment to the motion on the table for the board, additionally not to block the public sidewalk, nor to have no live music without the consent of the special permit holder.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, discussion. All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
So just amended the motion.
Okay, so let's vote on the motion as amended. Thank you, trustee Stevens. We're now voting on the motion as amended with those considerations. Okay? Okay. So all those in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It is very good. Thank you, Mr. Brett. Okay, and then we have, guys, thank you. We have a second part of this, but since it's we have a special surprise tonight. We have dancers, since it's St. Patrick's Day, from the mountain. I think they were in the Bronx, Mr. Bratton, you know these guys, because they were in the Bronx Day Committee, part of the Bronx Day Parade. They have been going up and down Butte Pass today, dancing for people. And when they got word that there was a board meeting, welcome to our board meeting tonight. So we have a special presentation. So I probably need to recess the meeting. So let's recess the meeting at 7:36 for some dancers tonight. So let's welcome them. Are they still out there?
Welcome, Irish Lots.
Yeah. And just say who you guys are again. Yeah, we'll do this right for you. We have this whole area. This is a great story for the newspaper.
We are Mountain Era Irish Dance School, and we've been out spreading Irish cheer for St. Patrick's Day. And we ran into Lori, and she invited us to come in and regale you and help you celebrate your St. Patrick's Day. Take a little quick break.
Yes.
So as soon as we get our music,
We have the whole, so we have a couple of poles right there that just get your hole. There's a hole and there's one more.
Right where you step.
Perfect.
Don't fall. Show us.
Rock's about the music, sorry.
stopping by. Interrupt your meeting.
Thank you.
So I guess you've been flash mobbed.
Never know what happens at work. Very cool. Okay, so we're back in back in regular session at 7:43. And we had number 2, or item B that we were going to vote on or discuss, which is the liquor license. We need to adjourn. So we're back in the regular meeting. 43, we're now adjourned and recessed. And now, then we're, help me out.
You're gonna now sit as the local liquor licensing authority for the town of Green Mountain Falls.
So we are now the local liquor license authority for the town of Green Falls. And I know that there was a reason why I should have bought those hats today for all of you guys to put on it. Those hats. So we are now, for all you guys, we are now the liquor license authority now. So
And the issue before this local liquor licensing authority is an application for renewal of the local liquor license for Zoo Group LLC doing business in News Tavern. Usually our recommendation that you hear from staff on any information they have to provide by way of complaints, violations. Typically, violations at the state level, so students at the state level are sent to the local authority via your clerk. So she may have, if there were any violations, she could inform you. Your local law enforcement should be able to inform you, sending this to the local liquor licensing authority as to whether there have been any complaints or issues from law enforcement perspective. I, as the town attorney, can inform you that I have had no complaints or other reasons that would require this application to be set for a hearing. The question before the board is, do you want to approve the renewal or set this matter for a hearing?
Move approval of the renewal of the liquor license. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We now need to adjourn. Or
Is there another one?
are we gonna do that right now? Should
Oh,
we,
is there another one?
should we go ahead and do that?
Yeah, if you're sitting as this, I would just continue, rather than adjourning, I would continue as the local liquor licensing authority for
Or Midland
Midland
Rails.
Rails.
Liquor. And Kim, the owner, is here this evening. Hi, welcome. You picked a good night to come
First
here.
time I've come to the new meeting.
Yes. You should come back.
I would. So the second one before the local liquor licensing authority is a renewal application from Kimberly Roland Board, doing business at Midland Rails Liquor. Again, the question before the board is, do you approve this renewal, or would you like to set this matter for a hearing?
So staff.
There's been no, we have, yeah.
Move approval of the renewal.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Perfect. We do appreciate our businesses in town. Thank you guys so much for what you do for us. And, do you have a question? Awesome. Thank you. Oh, so now we need to get out of we now need to return to our normal function. Okay, so we are now, not, how do you say that? Not recessed, or back into our regular meeting at 7:48. 7:48, Mary. Okay, and we're down to the special event permit, for the UCAS. You guys definitely came at a good night to see the kids. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us. My name is Matt Rogge. I'm a representative from UPass Elementary School and a parent at the school. And I'm the race director for our 5K and 1 mile race this year. I was the race director last year. And we are here asking about special event permit this year. Myself and Mr. Chris Briggs-Hale.
Permit to use the streets and roads and run through your beautiful and amazing town, and every year we so appreciate it. We appreciate it's just a great community event, raising some great money for our school. You may not know this, but we are one of the 10 healthy school champions for the state of Colorado. That by the Colorado Education Initiative. We're going up to Denver to receive that award. But one of the neat things is that we're raising money for a walking track around our new playground. So come on out and run with us, or walk with us, or have fun. I was gonna run, but I sprained my ankle, so I might be the guy right, where again, hobbling along. But and Matt here's his second year organizing this, and he's done an absolutely fabulous job. He has 2 beautiful boys at our school, and it's a great event. So we really appreciate all you've done in the past, and we're hoping you'll renew our permit or grant our permit.
Or do you have any questions for Matthew?
Chief, you good?
If the route stays the same, is everything gonna be identical as last year?
Everything is the same.
Okay. Then it's not a lane closure. I'll definitely put some resources on that, and it doesn't really fall within a lane closure, so there's not gonna be any special event fees on our side.
Move to approve. Second?
Second. Okay, is there a second?
Yes.
There was a second. Okay, any discussion board? Okay, all those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed.
Can I have the date on that, please?
That is
Yes.
May 9th.
May 9th.
May 9th. And then last year, our firm sponsored. There were a couple runners or
Thank you.
something. We'll do that again this year.
Thank you.
Awesome. So I'll bring a check box.
And board, I would like to throw out the idea, we've never done this before, but the board show up in full force and we run, walk, whatever we choose to do. And our staff.
See if you can beat Mr. Briggs.
Yes. On May 9th, I think it would be a fun opportunity that the town gets involved here. So we can walk, run, get our staff, and everybody show up, so.
We'd love to have you on this 20th anniversary,
See?
20 years.
Okay, board. So
Some
mark your
history, definitely
calendars.
some history in this event. So we'd really love to have you.
So let's think about that. You can commit me. I'm signing the pledge right now. I'm in, so I would love you guys to join me this
Saturday, May 9th. We do a couple unique things with this run. The kids at the school design the t-shirts. If you remember, you've seen some of the t-shirts around in years past. So it's original artwork by one of the students. And then this year, for the 20th anniversary, we're also going to have an optional shirt with a little different design. We had some requests in the last few years, kind of for an adult shirt. So we're gonna have a cool adult shirt as well. One of our parents designed a really nice design. You'll see it in front of the post office on the poster there. That'll be on the shirt. So some cool things happening with the run this year.
Yes. Any questions? Okay,
Thank you very
We'll
much.
see you on the
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. We also have another UPass item here. It's the UPass silent auction. There were 3 full passes.
Yeah, I can speak to that as well. Our auction is in conjunction with the run, and it's our major fundraiser for the school. And that's a silent auction. We put items out in front of in the lobby of the school a couple weeks prior, and then it culminates on that day. And so that donation would go towards that fundraiser for the school. As Chris was saying, the trail around the playground that we're continuing to work on, that playground to do the things that we want to do for the kids there. So that's what those are for.
This is one of the things that I asked to get put on this agenda for two reasons. One, I wanted to be able to give to the silent auction, but two, let it be known that you need silent auction gifts for this fundraiser.
Yes, anything, if you have any ideas or anyone else, please don't hesitate to stop by the school, or I can leave contact information. And I'm sure many of you know Joanna Bartko and Nancy May are heading up that auction piece, so you can contact them as well if you have any other things that you want to donate, ideas. I don't have a card with me, but I'll get information to you.
A big thank you to Matt Rodney for putting this together for you guys.
My pleasure.
Board, I move to approve that the town donates 3 pool passes for their silent auction.
Second?
Any discussion from any other board member? Okay, all those in favor vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good.
Thank you very
so
much.
much.
Thank you.
We appreciate all you guys do. Okay, next item of business. GS cell phone tower, Mr. Weldon. Oh my goodness, you're the man tonight. We want to hear about this.
Last meeting, I prepared a packet. I hope we all got a copy of the product. Anyway, in the past few weeks, I stood up at the corner of the highway and Utah and down by the elementary school with my little meter measuring how many people go by with cell phones on. The scary thing is that 2 out of every 5.5 cars, 1.5 motorcycles, are on their cell phones. So you wonder why we have terrible reception. We have one tower that services the entire UPass area, and all of the carriers that I listed are on that tower. And I have basically each one of the carriers have a proprietary search ring, and based on whether they have they're expanding their system, what their utilization is, or their overall capacity, is when they choose to place a new tower or place a new antenna. Just having a high spot doesn't guarantee that you can put a tower there and that they'll use it. Their search criteria are proprietary to each one of them. I tried to kind of figure out what they would be based on our geographics, and we have Green Mountain Falls, this little valley here, has great opportunities for working with their cell towers, but they chose just that one tower. According to some people, Verizon and AT&T, nobody has offered them a plot to either build a tower or place an antenna. So what I've done, and I have to state this ahead of time, I have old equipment, and so you can't use this 100% accurate information, but basically I can detect them. I can tell whether it's a purely digital signal, which is what you see the GLE or the 3G type things. And because of that, I've located here in town 5 properties that are owned by the town that we can offer to the companies, let them do their evaluation, and then come back and say, hey, we're interested in using your properties, let's negotiate. So those properties include Town Hall here, using the superstructure, down by the pool, which we can support 20 to 40 foot antennas. The, what I'll call the flagpole park, what's the property park?
Oh geez.
Flagpole Park. Everybody calls it
By the
flagpole.
whole marshal's office.
Where the old marshal's office is.
Stop.
Yeah, and then, the maintenance depot. Is that fine? This one,
That's 4.
4,
What was the fourth one?
The maintenance.
the maintenance depot. And the fifth one is is a small triangular park just at the exit of Green Mountain Falls. So I put together those locations. I'll build a packet with your permission to submit to the companies. And then as soon as we hear back from them, they want to start negotiations immediately. So what that's going to require is that our attorney, the town attorney, be ready to negotiate a communications property lease. I don't know if Matt is familiar with.
We are, Granby actually recently did that.
Okay.
Verizon.
So in doing so, typical leases are from $8,000 to $16,000 a month, based on a mixture or the time of use. And that's almost double from what it was 2 years ago. The leases are also going to be very dependent on what the company views, whether they're expanding or they're just trying to increase their capacity or their quality of salt. So with your permission, I would like to submit to the 5 major carriers offering these property assets. They will, the flagpole park would be ideal for placing a flagpole antenna, which would be the same height as the current antenna. I mean, current flagpole. It doesn't have bushy antennas on top of the antenna back there co-located in the circumference of the pole. So you don't have any ugly crowns on, if you will. What's also nice about that park is we could lease the interior of the old Marshal's department for their sustaining electronics and things like that. So we would get money off of the antenna, and you could get money off the building property. If they just put an antenna on a small pole, the leases obviously aren't as high as they would if they were on a full spectrum. So I was hoping the packet answer any questions or produce any questions. Other than that, there should be an interface besides the legal interface for them to call back on. I'm willing to volunteer to do that with your permission.
Okay, so questions for Mr. Loman. When you said 8,000 to 16,000 a month, that's how much?
The individual companies pay to have their antenna.
Okay, so that's not what we pay.
No.
Okay, I was about to say.
Well, you pay it to yourself bill.
Okay, I was about to say, oh my goodness. Okay,
But because the number I gave you on traffic, because of the new institutions going up in Woodland Park, CDOT is expecting to see between $5,000 and $7,000 and 10,000 additional cars during the 7 to 9 and 3 to 5:30 time frame, going past our entrances. So, and then if you take that same ratio of people on their cell phones, you can see why they're going to need to have coverage.
well, this is something all of us struggle with in Green Mountain Falls. Cell phone usage, you have to go and stand on one foot, you know, so.
There's one place in Green Mountain Falls where all 4 carriers have reception.
Are you
You
gonna
have to
tell
stand
us?
up, you have to stand on the rock in front of the Blue Moose
Oh,
and
that's
kind of hold your head funny, and it will work. And that's why the park right across the way is probably,
Why does Sprint work so well?
why Sprint, the Sprint has the highest antenna on the one tower that's built over here. That's,
Doesn't matter how many people use their cell phones with that.
pardon me?
Doesn't matter how many people use their cell phones.
With that, if you notice when it's really, really busy, you'll start talking on your Sprint and the volume starts going down, 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 and then you get dropped. And that may be more of an occasion further down the path, but
Yeah, down the path,
yeah.
So this tower, proposed tower would be shared by companies, or they're buying against each other?
Initially, they would be vying against each other. If it appears, that would be our advantage. If it appears that we get something back from all four, then it would behoove us to go ahead and build the tower or the light pole. And there's monies available to local governments for doing that.
Who built the phone?
There are several antenna companies in Colorado Springs as well as in Denver that would build the light pole.
Madam Mayor, I wanted to clarify something. When he was talking about lease fees, you said, would we have to pay that?
Right.
I think you misunderstood.
Right, well,
The companies pay the town
exactly.
a lease fee.
I wanna put it on my property.
So not only do the citizens get better protection, but the town gets some
The only
income.
Jew here.
Town minutes, thank you, Mr. Bradley. Yeah. Trustee Quinn.
When you present these, like, I'm assuming that we would, have some discretion on what that tower would look like. I know they do a lot of, creative things with towers these days, so that they're not.
We won't put I guarantee you, we won't put a palm tree like we did.
Yeah.
We passed.
It's a flag?
That had to be the worst engineering job I think I've ever seen in my life. And they didn't even paint it blue spruce, they painted some other ugly color.
Yes.
I don't believe that they would want, other than that flagpole park, I don't think they would want to put a large tower anywhere along here. I think it would behoove them to just use the 20-foot towers. As I showed in the layout, there are multiple 20-foot towers that are, I think, 20-foot antennas that already exist. Our fire department shares one with Peter Park. They're located all over, and adding telephone antennas to those towers can happen in 4 weeks. Building a full tower can take up to 6 months. So once again, I believe by presenting this data to them, that they're going to see that, oh my goodness, and I'm surprised we haven't already. We need to serve this area. Primarily, part of what I wanted to put in the letter was that we're a town of 800, but we swell to 1,800 during the summer. Most people, the biggest complaints that travelers have is that they use their cell phone coverage. It would behoove them to, help that situation. Plus, with the new traffic coming, that would also, help them.
So, Mr. Lemon, would it be possible eventually for these companies to come and have a representative talk to us and answer our questions? When is that? How far down the line is that?
I submit this and they come back with their site agents, they're called. I believe that they would then come to the town board and.
Okay.
Going along with that, in the very near future, and Trustee Quinn knows about this, the town is going to have to join a communications legislation committee, because the government's saying, hey, we need to be able to get our finger in this regulation here with the cell phones, and
The FCC?
yeah, it would behoove us to be prepared with that. I think Mr. Clinton.
I think it's
6409 is the legislation number. And it's fairly new, and it has to do with turnaround times on approvals for pole attachments, things like that. It's really very foggy, and a lot of the municipalities aren't, they're just starting to look into it because it's coming into effect soon. So I think that might be something to consider, but I would like to probably see that packet before you were to send it out.
Right. Yeah, that was gonna be my comment.
And for,
I would encourage Mr. Loman to draft a letter for the mayor's signature. The mayor sent it out.
Yeah, that's something that should go out on the town letter, either signed by the mayor or the president.
And reviewed by.
Yeah,
Can I-
once that ball starts rolling, the companies move quickly and they don't wanna play around. So the longer, you guys need to make sure you have your ducks in a row before that goes out. You can't get far way down the road and stop it. That makes negotiating a lot harder.
I wanted to put the tagline on it, serving our community and your customers through better communication.
Mr. Loman, your town clerk doesn't have a copy of this. Do you wanna
Yes, I'll make
email
it.
or send it to her?
Can I,
And I can get it forward. Do you guys have a copy of that?
No.
I'll make a copy of it.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah, that, I identified the properties by their address as well as their location
Yeah,
in
let's do it later.
the county register.
Can she get that to you later after the meeting?
Yes.
So for clarification then, are we tasking him to do anything?
Draft a letter for their review and signature.
Okay, so is there a motion for that to draft a letter? And letterhead for my review and the attorney's review, correct? My signature, the attorney's review.
Would you like to come back before it goes out?
No,
If it's in your own copy.
if you're happy.
If you want to draft it and email it to me, I'll print it off on, the letterhead and give it to the mayor and the board for review.
Matt, is this something that we should identify of these 5 locations which one we prefer, or should we wait to see what they're
I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean, if you wanna.
Actually, but they'll tell us which ones
Let's,
they prefer.
Again, that's part of the negotiation.
Okay.
If you say we want it here and only here, and they say we're gonna do it at all, then. Sometimes it's more expensive for the town, it's more expensive for the company based on the position that the town allows it. So the town allows it on Main Street at only stoplight, they charge premium for that rather than on the back hill behind Country Rock.
Actually, the driving, one of the major driving forces is ease of access. They want to be able to drive up to it and fix it if it's broken. They don't want it on the backside of the hill.
so there's a motion, is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay, any discussion more? All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Mr. Loman, I just want to thank you so much for helping us and you did this for us. I feel
Now, one person offered me a ride when I was
so if you see him, just.
You look kind of sketchy.
Yeah. Good job, thank you. Okay, item number 8, the wildlife inspecting trustee book.
Wildlife is kind of a misnomer because it started out basically as a parks committee to discuss the usage in the parks and how we could upgrade, be better, and this one. But of course, it gets down to the biggest issue is wildlife. A small committee finally met. Very small, but unfortunately, due to a clerk there on my part, one person did not get it. Not complicated, another company. So I'm sure there's going to be more meetings. There are two sides to the issue, obviously, of being geese, and we've heard information from town folks on those sides of the issue, as to whether to feed or not. You will find that down the front range. I'm sorry, I'll turn this way. You will find down the front range that almost all municipalities prohibit the feeding of geese and ducks. The town of Colorado Springs lists signs in their parks, and they have a specific city code against it. Starting with, I'll read the 4 issues that they post in the parks. Lack of a balanced diet may cause wing deformation and goslings, hindering the bird's flight ability. Feeding causes overcrowding, allowing disease to spread easily and possibly result in massive diets. Geese lose their fear of humans and become aggressive. Feeding reduces the need for geese to migrate, so they stay in the area longer and create more problems. Lakefront and other parks overrun by geese who soil and pollute the lands, restricting recreational usage and park control. The last one, of course, is one that we have seen issue up here in our limited area with the amount of pollution that we get from it. And yet, on the other side, why feed the geese? They're cute. Okay? It adds to the town. It's part of the reason they're here. Okay? So it's a mixed bag issue as to what should happen. Where we came to, and I came to, brought forth the idea of what one of the major issues is whether you are supplementing a goose's diet or you're supplanting a goose's diet by feeding them 20 grains, stuff which then causes the problems that are listed here. So again, it's still a mixed bag. Now I'm sure this is not the only meeting that would happen to it. I'm sure this will not be the only opinion. But the group that met, we came up with an idea of every one of us probably took our kids to feed ducks one time or another. Okay. What a child feeds a duck, really it's just supplement. It's not supplanting. So we were considered the idea, we want to bring forth, and of course, this is one thing you will not be voting on. So don't worry about that. Is allowing kids up to the age of 12 to feed the ducks. And limit the supplanting by ducks. And see if we can watch and control the amount of geese and everything in the town. If we do keep them around, it's still going to create major issues with public works to clean up after them, even though volunteers are there. Okay? We're still going to have to power scrub the gazebo. Okay, so that part is an issue. And yet, we don't want to be the curmudgeon that says, you can't do something else, to feed the ducks. Then if they help, but enjoy. So you'll see a list later of things that we probably need to consider for public works if we continue this road. Now, like I said, this won't be the only meeting on it, okay? It's not regular, but it may be a start. And since I won't be in charge of liaison, in charge of parks and stuff, I probably won't be on taking this up, so I'm passing this on to the next person to look at it and continue. Okay? But I will contact the other couples and stuff when you guys decide who's going to do that. As far as that is. So it's just a start. I hope something like that can be worked out as a compromise. It makes sense to me. We have both signs in the parks, and we can basically fulfill both sides so that we're not doing anything biologically harm the bees, but bees still have the opportunity to enjoy. Maybe limit the amount of bees that actually stay in the area at any given time. Still enough to enjoy, but not enough to overrun. Okay. The Division of Wildlife takes a real back step on it, and I think it's political on their part not to get involved. So the city ordinances decide, hey, you guys decide what you want. Okay? So you've got to look at that side of it too. So there is no set rule, on the specific thing of ducks and geese. So this, I don't know the way it's written in our books that it would be an ordinance change. That's one of the reasons I kind of want to wait till we simplify our ordinance process before we get into this, because if not, 8 years from now we'll be discussing whether we need to be this. And somebody else will always have an opinion on the situation. Okay. So that's the initial update on it, the initial thought. We'll carry forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. trustee Gardner, I guess, that you would now have the pleasure. And maybe there's someone else in the audience tonight, our citizens who want to get involved and work on this committee. She's the gal to contact her. Yes, Mr.
I have a question. How about putting vending machines with that and each maps?
We created one more issue for public works that we maintain, just like the doggy bags. And the food building. When bread is free, you know. So we have an issue there, and that's still kind of some planting when you get into the greens.
So I would encourage you guys, if you have an opinion, and this is, if you're passionate about this topic, please reach out to Trustee Gardner. Okay? Because some of us are not passionate about it, you know. It's not a big deal. But if you're, please contact her. Okay? And thank you, Trustee Book, for working on this. Okay, at this time, we're gonna recess our meeting for a public hearing on ordinance number 2-17-2015A, adoption of ordinances. The time is now 8:19, and we're in a public hearing regarding this. So, Mr. Croft, can you sort of take the lead here, refresh us what we're doing?
I can refresh the clerk can know me as well, but this was published in a paper more than 15 days before today's public hearing. The general circulation within the municipality. This ordinance is designed to revert back to a single reading system. Dual reading systems are typically done in large municipalities and they're required in cities by statute. Towns, the theory is that there's less need to have dual reading, and that you're still subject to the same referendum deadlines. Let's see, this ordinance was published in full, and it's up to you if you want to.
I would like
How
to,
much further you
yeah.
want to go into it.
You know, just for people, we have a lot of citizens here who weren't there, I'd like to just read this, just to give you guys an update. There's been a lot of confusion about this, so I just want you guys to know. So I'm gonna skip down to, is it appropriate for me just to skip down to the section 1, Mr. Cobb, or would you prefer?
Yeah, again, as I said, this ordinance was published in full in the paper, complying with your stringent notice, public hearing requirements. So I don't think that there's any heartburn in doing that. If there's people that don't have copies, I'm sure we can make them available to look at.
So, the procedure for passing an ordinance under this is as follows. 1, the proposed ordinance may be introduced at a regular or special meeting of the Board of Trustees by any member of the board. Prior to the adoption of the proposed ordinance, the board shall hold a workshop at which public comment shall be heard. Then, at a subsequent regular or special meeting, the proposed ordinance shall be read in full unless the majority of the board members present vote to read only the title of the proposed ordinance. And then the proposed ordinance may be approved with or without amendment or rejected by a vote of the board members that are present. Okay, so if the ordinance is approved by a majority of the present board members, it shall be published in accordance with state law, and the said ordinance shall become effective 30 days after the publication. If the ordinance is an emergency ordinance necessary for the preservation of public property, health, wellness, welfare, peace, or safety, the ordinance shall become effective upon an affirmative vote of 3/4 of the present board members. And then it says, number 4, if state law requires a public hearing prior to the adoption of any proposed ordinance, the board may set the matter for a public hearing. And in those cases, you guys, there are certain things that the state says we have to have a public hearing for, such as land.
Yeah, annexations, zoning, things of that nature, are required by state statute rather than your local ordinance to be published in full or to give other kinds of notice before holding a public hearing. And in order to adopt the new zoning or the annexation agreement, the town actually has to go through a bunch of other steps, one of which is a public hearing. So this isn't to circumvent that. And the other comment I have is that it's not designed to circumvent anything that is required at the state level. Let's say, for instance, right now, municipalities have the ability to just publish things by title only. And that's something that can be changed by the vote of people, either a special or regular election. But you haven't done that, so as this reads right now, you still have to publish the entire ordinance before it be effective. And that's the start of the 30 days of actually that publication date. So after holding a workshop, after the board discussing it, in a workshop, after the board not deciding on it, but discussing it, after the board discussing and deciding on it in a meeting, you have a 30 days. It's usually about 4 days after that meeting that it can be published in the paper, and then it's another 30 days before that ordinance is effective. So there's plenty of notice, even under a single reading system.
So we are in a public hearing. Any questions from anyone out there? Any comments on this? Matt, what's the next step here then?
The next step is to, you've introduced it, it's been posted. You've read the pertinent parts that you'd like to discuss. If you'd like to vote on it, you can vote on it tonight. If it passes tonight, the read, passed, and adopted finally on the second reading, which appears to be the 7th of April.
Yes. Mr. Patron?
I was kind of for this ordinance when we talked about just having one reading instead of two. I think you do this community a disservice by allowing anybody to come up with an ordinance anytime they want. I think that it's important that the community realize that the law is going to change, or that something that might happen to affect them. And I don't think that publishing a proposed ordinance is out of order. It gives people time to look it over, and I think a workshop is probably. I suppose what you're doing is replacing a public hearing with a workshop. I don't know. I guess it's just semantics, but I think it's important that the community be able to question the logic, the idea, what the reason for a change, because an ordinance is a law. Typically, when they happen, they don't go away. So I think it's important that you publish your proposed ordinance and give people plenty of time to look over what may be changing their life to some degree. And so, the ability to another thing is the ability to change an ordinance or to propose an ordinance at a special meeting. That means that you can set a special meeting for the only purpose of proposing an ordinance. I find that a little, I think it's inappropriate. I think that if you're gonna be changing a law or adding a law, you should propose it, let people talk about it in a public meeting, at a public hearing. And I don't care if it takes 2 or 3 or 5 public hearings to get it right. What you're proposing is that any one of you can come in at any meeting that they want and propose an ordinance. If everybody at the board thinks it's a great idea, you can pass it that night. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know, that's what it said. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, ma'am.
When this was brought up at the last meeting, the majority of citizens were requesting a public hearing. The reality of what you proposed is, one, other than tonight, there are usually 2 to 3 citizens at a meeting. 2, your workshops are held at 5 and 6 o'clock. People are working, no one comes. In essence, you could do both of those things, post this ordinance on Monday night at 5 o'clock, and at 7 o'clock on Tuesday, change a law. That's, you can do it in 24 hours with no one coming when it's first read, because 5 citizens show up, and 2, no one comes to the workshops. So that's why the citizens were requesting a public hearing.
Board, that's not entirely correct. Absent special ordinances, emergency ordinances, which circumvent this process anyway by state statute, the idea that you would post something at 5 o'clock, hold a workshop, and vote on it, you would still have a minimum of 30 days, but really because of the timing that the publication comes out, you have 34 days before that would be effect, absent special or emergency ordinance.
And who would be aware of that?
It would be published in the newspaper, which is where you publish the notice for public hearing. So the same people that read the publication that says we're going to hold a public hearing, that same paper would say, this is what the board did. If you don't like it, ready, set, go, you've got 30 days. So it's the same place.
Much harder to do in retrospect.
Well,
No,
and
it's not.
I did contact personally a couple of municipalities our size, Calhoun and Palmer Lake, and both of them have a single reading system. And they, they're very, very more constrained on how they do that than even what we're proposing. Having workshops are excellent ways to communicate with their. I do believe that our citizens are more involved than ever before, and I think, I think this would be excellent. Yes.
Absent this municipality, the only other municipality that we represent that has a dual reading system, the city of 15,000 people.
Right.
There's a reason that's the norm. Grand Lake, Granby, Larkspur, all of them, same size, same municipal budget, same ideas, same circulation, same services offered to people, same board size, very similar codes, very similar influx and outflux of summer residents, very similar. Have a single reading.
Yes, sir.
What publication is, what are you using to
Right now,
publicize
it's the
this?
Courier. It's the Courier up in Woodland Park.
And if you don't take the Courier?
Yeah, that's an excellent point there. Do most municipalities just have one service, or?
Well, if you were home rule, you wouldn't even have to be doing this, but the municipalities that we represent typically have one newspaper that circulates. The requirements are a general, a newspaper is general circulation within the municipality. So
Yeah,
you could change
we
your
can also change
designation.
that if need be when we stay. So, do you get the Gazette, sir?
I beg your pardon?
Do you get the Gazette?
No, I do not.
No newspaper?
No newspaper.
Okay. Yes,
So, I'm curious, I was looking up a couple other cities in Colorado,
yes.
and it seems like most of them, a lot of them I looked at, probably just say they'll publish it on their website within a certain amount of time, and I agree, most of us don't get the newspaper, or a lot of us probably don't. So why would we not make it an ordinance where it has to be on the website? Because probably more people have access to websites than actually get the newspaper.
Well, I think that the board is grappling with right now that they have a website that is associated, well, they have 2 websites, one of which is arguably not the official website. The other one, the county is taking over the control over what gets posted there rather than your town clerk. It's my understanding that your new assistant town clerk town clerk assistant is headed down the road of taking back control. To do that now still has that third-party control with the county. I think that's probably a good idea, and I think that's where you're headed. If you were a home rule municipality, Larkspur's a home rule municipality we represent. They don't have a newspaper that comes into town. They actually just post it on their bulletin board outside town hall. That's their official, here's all the word. Would I like to see the board have total control over their website where they can say, we're gonna post it here and we're gonna publish it here and it's gonna be posted on the door out there? Yeah, is that the reality right now?
But we can move certainly in that direction.
Right, yes.
You know, so, just wait, please, sir. Yes.
The official bulletin board for this town is not here at town hall, it's at that post office. That's your official posting spot. You should make sure that all ordinances get posted there for people that don't get newspapers, who don't have computers, so.
The only thing that's written down, and I understand that's been the historical use of it, the only thing that's written down is that it is to be published in a newspaper. I think that the website and heading to posting it in town hall and if the board wants to post it public at the post office as well. No, I think that's just extra. I think that's fine. I think this is kind of the bare bones. It's gonna hit reset and go from here. There's certainly that the intent behind this is to actually start looking at the code and updating it. For instance, animal control, animal use, zoning, things like that haven't been revisited at least since this version of the code was updated.
The way the system is now, it makes it very challenging to update codes and, you know, all of that. And so we want to help, you know, move that along so things can get updated as needed. Okay, any other comments? Just wait, any other comments, sir? No? Okay. Mr. Petroni, you have spoken.
I have a suggestion. We're gonna be having another public hearing right after this one. And for that, you sent out a questionnaire or a voting
Mr.
page
Petroni,
or
we're
something.
not in that public hearing right now.
I understand that, but what I'm trying to do is compliment the board on the thoughtfulness of informing the people who are gonna be affected by notifying them. I don't see, there must be a better way to communicate to the community that things are gonna change. And so, simply printing it in the newspaper, that not everybody reads, and putting it on a Facebook page, or putting it on the website, that not everybody pays attention to. If they got something in the mail, or if there was something in multiple places in town where it might catch their eye. You were complaining the other day about people not being here at a meeting because it was an important issue. And the reason was because no one knew. Even the postings at the post office are only 24 hours in advance.
Sir, I don't see the relevance to our discussion right now. I don't see the.
Well, it certainly is. Notification of the public
That's
that
great.
something's gonna change,
That's great.
and
Okay,
listening to what they have to say is another.
That's
all.
fine, thank you. Okay, are there any other comments in the public hearing? Okay, if not, then the public hearing is now closed at 8:35. And board, we're back in our regular meeting. I would entertain a motion to, or first of all, is there any discussion here among the board?
Mayor, one thing I like about this, with the work session rather than a public hearing is, just to this point, it takes away the 3-minute rule. It takes away some of the input limitations that are held in a public hearing aspect, where in a public meeting, there's give and take, there's interaction, it's a full dialogue, where this, it's a
back and forth.
It is. So that's my comment.
Anyone else? Comments on this?
Well, I would like to see, I do support this change, but I would like to see a way to move the town forward to actually getting some kind of notification system here at the town hall. And I know it would make post everything at the post office as well. And I don't see, I hear the call for more information, but I don't think we can post it in every newspaper in the area.
That's your agenda.
It's not cost effective. I think, if we make it readily available within town as a general rule, that we can alleviate a lot of the concern. So I'd like to see that pursued by staff. I don't think it needs to be in an ordinance spelled out, but I think that is the direction of this board would like to.
Right.
I like that, and I like the, and I don't think it, I think it's separate from this, but I think the making a consistent notice that if we hear, if we hear, if we hear, or whatever, if it's one, if it's two, whatever, and then knowing that that's where it's gonna be. It'll be at the post office, it'll be in the paper, it'll be wherever it is decided, but it being consistent.
The problem with the multiple places, requiring multiple places or saying you really like it to be there, is when you designated 6 places and you have an annexation that's been through 3 public hearings, there's been 50 hours of attorney time on it, there's been 200 hours of staff time to get this annexation finished, and it gets posted 4 of the 6 or 5 of the 6 because the website was down, post office store was closed, snow prevented it, whatever it is, it opens you to unraveling and starting over. So while I think there's a balance between just putting it here, and if you don't catch it at the right time, you're not going to know, and we're going to post it on every paper and mail everybody a copy of it. You kind of have to realize that the further you go to more publication, more requirements, the more that opens up the unraveling of all the work that's been done to get where it should look like. I think every municipality that we represent has a website. Some of them are maintained really well, some of them are. I think there's a middle ground. I don't think that has to be something that's decided tonight. I think that this is intended to kind of reset you guys so that you can look at ordinances once, fix them, change them. Right now you have this ordinance, for example, right now you have this ordinance. If you want to change something substantively in here, you have to start over, which means the town clerk then publishes this in a paper that goes out Friday. You have to add 15 days, which misses your next meeting. So now you're looking at the second meeting in April for the first reading. The first meeting in May for your second reading, and 30 days past the Friday past that before you can do it. So the idea here isn't to say, look, this is going to fix everything. We will never have to revisit this issue. It's far-fetched. I think that you have new personnel, and you may have a new paper pop up that you've got to use. Someone local may say, hey, I'm going to circulate the only paper in Green Mountain Fault. I mean, there's things that will change and frankly should change, but this is designed to say we can make all of these changes going forward. The notice, the legal right for any citizen to come back and say, hey, you don't like what you did, the whole board saw this, some of the members were there. That's not being changed. The legal right for any member to say, we don't like this ordinance, it's still out there. What we're changing is how many groups you guys have to move through to fix what you like to fix.
Yes, ma'am.
And Mayor, I just wanted to let you folks know, every time the fan comes on the furnace, none of us can hear back here.
Thank you. We definitely need to work on getting those speakers and microphones set up. Okay, but let's do it. Let's really try for the staff to articulate and speak a little louder for our citizens. Okay, thank you. Sure. Okay, so.
Drake, will we get that? Turn it off, please.
Then you guys are gonna be so, you'll be like, oh, I can't breathe. Anyway, okay, so we'll just speak a little louder. Thank you. And we realize we need to get some speakers and stuff set up in here. So, okay. Anything else, board? Well, let's not
Mayor, I move to approve, first reading.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, trustee Gardner, any discussion anymore, board? Okay, all those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Okay, now, we are in.
Wait, what time did you close the public hearing so that you could vote?
Did we close the public?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
8:35.
8:35. 8:35. Okay, and now, we are in another public hearing for at 8:42 for the, Dewey Mountain Trail. Okay, so at this time, I'd like to hear from, we did receive, forward your packets of information. We got 34 signatures from citizens that live over on Catamount, in the Catamount area. And I know Jesse Stroop is here representing the Historic Foundation as well. In order to move this along, I do appreciate you guys staying, because I know you were here probably for this, and I just wanted to make sure that we got through our business tonight prior to going into this public hearing, because last time we weren't able to do that due to time. So I appreciate y'all staying here. I would ask though, we have heard a lot of arguments on either side. We've gotten letters, we did receive tons of correspondence. We received a letter, board, help me out here, from we received a letter from the citizen. Oh, help me out. Anyway, I know we received a letter from someone in Cascade, I believe. Did you say? Yeah, correspondence from Gordon Wines in Cascade. We also received correspondence from the foundation itself. And then for those letters that we received. So I'd like to ask, if you haven't spoken before, if you are new tonight, you know, we'd love to hear from you. But if you have been here and said the same thing over and over, please know that, you know, we have all of your stuff. So please stand up. You have 3 minutes in the public hearing to speak. We did receive correspondence also from the Trails Committee, Mr. Bratton's board, you saw all of that as well. But if you would like to speak to the board, you haven't spoken before, please stand up, state your name. I prefer you go over to the podium there, and you have 3 minutes. So I know that they're new faces I haven't seen before. So if you guys, at this time, if someone want to stand up and address the board, that would be great. So you can just.
You're gonna move it.
Yes, thank you. Oh, okay, you're gonna move it first. Thank you. Okay, is there anyone that we haven't heard from? Yes.
Evening, board. Billy Alexander, 10-845 Myrtle Street. I also own 10790 Grandview Avenue. Both houses reside in the approximate area. First, I'd like to thank the board of trustees for hosting the public hearing and the citizens and my neighbors. Get the public notice letter from the town hall. It says that the Historic Rainbow Falls Foundation wishes to build a sustainable trail through the purchased acreage open to the public. Does the board of trustees have that letter from the property?
What?
From the property. Does the board of trustees have a letter from the property owner requesting that action?
The historic trail?
Yes, that's.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what he's referring to.
Yeah.
You do have a letter. All right, thank you. Originally, the April 22nd, 2014, Green Mountain Falls Trails Committee approached the planning commission seeking a recommendation to approve the plan for the trail at the Catamount right-of-way, which is different than what we proposed today. We've got about 10, 15 minutes. I did digest it and we made an approval for that, the recommendation for the board.
Can you, yeah, maybe turn this way too. I know you're addressing the board, but unfortunately, because we don't have a speaker system.
I'm going to say now that that's the worst decision I made since I've left the planning commission. Back on that shoulder digestion for what was proposed. In the code, Matt, if you want to follow along, I'm going to read from chapter 16 to 14. This is in the zoning. This is 1613. 16314 is the public lands district. And part of this public lands district is also suitable for use and designation of trails and associated activities. The term public lands may be used to describe the existing or future use of land with the character of the ownership of the land. And that's paragraph A. Paragraph B reads, where established, approval for a public lands district requires either outright public ownership or a significant public easement or a grant of public usage, i.e. a long-term lease. A determination that a public need exists and use and location of compatible with the adjacent land use is necessary. So that's a requirement. Further on, paragraph B, the development plan which conforms to the provisions of section 16-712 shall be approved before any building permits may be issued or before construction of any public parks and open space facility may begin. Paragraph C, permitted uses. Uses allowed in this district are limited to those under public ownership or control, such as active recreation pursuits, passive open space preservation, and for use and designation of trails and associated activities. These uses are not typically excluded. Maybe a zoning requirement change if you plan a trail project. The public need for trails. I presume you've all seen this. This is the Green Mountain Falls Trails map. The number of trails that are present. I don't know how many would be able to demonstrate that there is a need for additional trail.
Mr. Alexander, unfortunately, at the time, one of the drawbacks to
Would you
public hearing.
indulge me, please, board?
3 minutes.
To the board, would you indulge me? There's a number of people, my neighbors, who oppose this. I'd like to suggest that it's not neighbors, it's a neighborhood that opposes this. I'd ask you to give due consideration before approving this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not used to public speaking.
That's okay.
But I'm Kay Rice. I live at, it's REIS. And I live at 10700 Grandview Avenue, which would be a pathway to, I don't really know that much about this, but I read the flyer that was left in my house, and which I think is very well written. And I agree with it, and we have enough traffic, both vehicle and on foot, that stirs up the dirt around our house, and I really don't want to have more, and I don't like to have a lot of strangers trooping up our streets. And I hadn't seen that map, but yeah, I don't know why we would need any more trails than the ones we already have. And I don't know where people would park to go up there. And I did fill out the form that was sent by the town and gave my reason for opposition, but I thought it might be good to be here in person, just to support the people who don't want this to happen.
Well, thank you. Good to have you at the board meeting. Yes, ma'am.
For allowing us to have the time. I'm Joe Piper, and I live on Grandview, directly under Catamount. My concern is not for the trail. I love the trails. I moved here for the trails to bring up dogs. But my concern is that we have an abandoned problem already on Catamount. It comes straight down, and with horseback, with bikes, I'm understanding this will be for bikes as well, pedestrian. The erosion from the trail coming down may increase, and we already have flooding. My neighbor here and I can both say that we have tons of everything in our from Catamount. The second is that I understand that on this trail, there'll be no parking, there's no place to park. But on Grandview, people may park there. No one's gonna know it, because in the summer, we have congestion, a lot of congestion, due to summer residents parking along the side of the road. And that would be my consideration too, that even the marshal would know whose cars were parked up there. And sometimes it is very tricky just coming through to get through Grandview. But I thank you so much.
Joan, thank you. Joan,
Yes.
what is your last name?
Cleckler, CLECKLE.
And your address, Grandview?
10795.
Thank you.
Back before the
Yes.
He's spoken before. He's spoken before.
This is, you've already
I
spoken.
beg your pardon, but you have spoken before? I have, but.
The mayor said, let's limit the people who have not spoken before.
Comments were made at the last meeting that I feel is necessary to respond to.
Mr. Petrone. Okay.
I'll be as brief as I can, I promise, I'll be as brief as I can.
Mr. Petrone. Let's say that some people who haven't spoken, we have your letters, we know your concerns.
When the last person has spoken, next.
Possible. Let's see what time. Need to move someone. Thank you.
So are you?
Thank you. Good to see you.
I like
Thank you.
to see you.
Thank you. We want to hear from people we haven't heard from tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Carlos H.M. here. I'm in 10805 Grandview Avenue. There is a big giant developing expecting to happen, always happening around the trail. I am thinking about the safety of the city. We have one police officer, few police officers, but we're having a big traffic. You know, for me, for my concern, the safety of the city, we gotta have more members. If we wanna have more members, if we wanna increase the traffic in the area when it's not safe, right, even for the local people, it's just too much. Carlos, thank you.
What was your name again?
Carlos H.M.
Are you after? Thank you for coming. Is there anyone else who hasn't spoken before? Okay, Mr. Petrone.
Thanks.
And please understand, we needed to hear from people that showed up tonight that we haven't heard from, so thank you.
All right. I believe that the signatories, the letters that we presented have provided a viable, safe, and alternative to the Catamount Street, Myrtle Street neighborhood trail. What I can't understand is the insistence on a trailhead in a highly populated area just because it's accessed in public right of way. To complain that the extra few minutes it takes to access a new trail from an existing trail seems a little petty when you consider the fact that after all, you are on a hike. Seems to me that your hike starts when you park the car, close the door, and start off on foot. The suggestion that the only trailhead that makes sense is at the east end of existing Myrtle Street is flawed for reasons stated at a previous meeting. No one can argue the fact that trail building is hard to do. Trail folks have done yeoman work on behalf of the town. Believe that. I think the placement of the trailhead adjacent to the town's right of way makes it convenient for the trails. By their own statements of the last meeting, the interest in the trails committee may be waning. Does building a new trail infuse some interest? I wouldn't blame them if it did, and as a matter of fact, I hope it does. The fact remains that the proposed trail is at the end of a narrow, steep, automobile travel system of barely maintained loose gravel roads, which would really make a difference if you constructed a trail your grandmother could walk on if you kill her again. The downside of our question is, especially for the residents in the neighborhood that include Orange Street, Panama Street, Myrtle Street, Florence and Graham, because the fact that the lifestyle changes the moment the trailhead opens. The reason Keith Kersey bought his property was that it's quiet and is in semi-seclusion. The end of the road is not likely to be extended anytime soon was a huge factor in his decision. Even if the road gets extended for a new home a little further down the road in the future, the only new traffic would be local. That is if the trailhead opens. Gotta be a real nightmare for him. The Morgans who live right next door to him at the corner of Catamount and Myrtle. Don't know them very well, but I have observed them having breakfast and dinner on their deck. You know, if somebody drives by and toots the horn, not a big deal. But if you got, multiply that by a dozen or a couple of hundred every week, it's got to be a nightmare for them too.
Right, sir, your time, I let you go.
Just
I know.
quickly, a couple of questions.
Well, that's why we need workshops instead of public hearings, so, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, I've already spoken for you. Okay. I'm Tom Cormack. I live on North Avenue, 10015 North Avenue. And I lived up in this area for 45 years.
Speak up, please.
Okay.
It's hard to.
Yeah, I'll speak up. I regret back there.
Yes, sir, please remember you are addressing.
Yeah, so I think this is more a question for the marshal. I live on Florence. Is it against the law for me to walk up Florence, go a little bit up Catamount, and then go across on Myrtle and get on to Mr. Cassidy's property?
It's not, those are public streets.
Yes.
We do not live in a gated community in Fremont Falls, and all of those streets are public streets.
So I can walk up there anytime I want.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I can bring friends. And maybe go
Those are, the difference between Fremont Falls and, like the subdivision down in, I guess it's Cascade or Chippy Park, is that it is a gated community and it's
right.
So that's something we all need to realize tonight, that these are public streets and that we cannot tell people not to walk on their public streets. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
Sounds to me like the people who spoke.
Copy of my speech. Thank you, Russell. Thank you. Okay, yes, ma'am.
I just have a question. I am aware of the letter that the board sent out to residents in the Catamount area, and I always thought it was the position of the board to be in a neutral position and listen to both sides of an issue and then digest it and make an opinion. And when that letter was sent out, it actually said, here is why we want this trail. And I wondered why the board took a position of saying they already had made a decision prior to this public hearing.
Where are you saying the board made their decision?
Well, if you want to read the letter that they sent out to the citizens.
I have the letter in front of me, I'm asking you where they said.
Well, it was a pro-trails issue.
It right here says very clearly, in favor of granting trail access, opposed to granting. I'm asking you where it says we made our decision.
Everything that was printed up until then was pro-trail.
You just said, this letter that went out said the board had made their decision. I'm asking, no, I'm not asking you to circumvent, I'm asking a very specific question. I said,
On the rest of the
Gail, I did not speak over you, I asked you a question. I said, where in this letter does it say the board has made their decision, they're putting this in?
I said the board made a decision to take a pro-trails position.
I just asked you to point me
Well,
to
read
that.
the whole letter. Read
You
the
tell
whole
us
thing.
where you're seeing this.
I don't have a copy.
It's right here. I'm telling you.
When it was read to me.
And that may be how you got it, that's fine.
Need to move on, guys, it's time.
Well, it talks about sustainable trail through the purchase area, open to the public, and beautiful countryside. The foundational on the trail committee is proposing the trailhead to be at the end of Myrtle Street. Now, this doesn't.
That's a fact. That's
I know,
what
but
the
it
trail is
doesn't-
supposed to
It
be.
doesn't talk about the other options for the trailhead.
Okay, so I've asked you twice now to say, in this letter that went out on behalf of the town, where it said either A, they made their decision don't interrupt, they made their decision prior to the meeting, which they're holding right now, or B, where they said, we want the trail, why should we not, or please support us?
Well, I'll take the example of at the end of Myrtle Street. Wouldn't a letter go out saying the options for the trail for the people and then the people on
Okay.
the community
Mr. Loma,
side?
hand me my packet, okay? I'm no longer concerned. with that.
That's
It doesn't discuss the whole
Your
issue.
time is up, ma'am, so
Thank
thank you very much. Okay, Sarah,
Well, I came tonight not with any intention of speaking at all, but just to observe this whole thing.
Can I put your name?
My name is Bill Engel, I live on Mountain Lane. And one of the reasons we moved here was because we're outdoor people and do in fact like to hike. We have hiked to both of the falls, and on the course of one of them, we walked up Hotel Street after parking down below, which is what we were advised to do. And when we walked to the other one, we parked again down at the main part of town here and walked up Belvedere Street. Now, I haven't personally been able to find Myrtle Street, although I did drive on Grandview, and I'm just not clear on what difference there is between the streets in the Catamount Hill community, quote unquote, and the street that you walk up Hotel Street or Bellevue or Belvedere to get to either one of those. And in reference to paragraph 6, I'm certainly not part of any special interest group, quote unquote, that's trying to take over anyone's neighborhood, but I think that a small amount of people in any given neighborhood shouldn't be able to dictate what the vast majority of the people in the town do or do. Thank you.
Eric Caldwell, 6840 Howard Street. I think that, I wasn't actually planning on speaking either, but it seems like the people on Catamount and Myrtle and Grandview are taking the approach that, like, they don't care about anyone else in the town, in some ways. Because most other people in the town have people hiking past their house. They have people hiking from down by the lake or wherever it may be, enjoying the trails. And most likely, I mean, I can't say for sure, but most likely, the people are gonna be more spread out. It's not gonna be more focused. You're probably not gonna have 100 people a day hiking up Grandview from work. You're probably gonna have a small portion, and the rest of them will cut them on pulse. Because, you know, it's a big fall. And maybe not quite as interesting as not doing it. And maybe you'll have more locals. But regardless, why, when there was trails put in at Bend Mountain, at Bend Boulder, why weren't any people protesting on those people's behalf?
The other people want to talk? I guess, I want to hear from Jesse. Yeah. Hey,
There's a trick to
we're all freezing. It's like a curve. We can hear each other, but we're all frozen.
Hey, Jesse? Yes. You said you want to go last, and I go just ahead. You can go, you sure. We get all the punchlines. I'm Dick Bratton, Chairman of the Trails Committee. I'm not gonna bore you by repeating things I've said before, but I do need to point out just a few things here. First, I'd like to start off by addressing our esteemed town attorney, Matt. The last public meeting, I lost my temper. When I started arguing against the need for a permit for the Trails Committee to build a 260-foot trail on town property, I sincerely apologize to you here in public. I lost my temper. I really do appreciate your concern for protecting the town from any liability risk. That's your job. I'm sure the Trails Committee will agree to comply with any terms and conditions you feel are necessary. And that probably should be the subject for a future meeting on how the trail gets built on East Myrtle right away. So I apologize to you.
There are certainly no hard feelings.
We've been talking about this thing now for 10 months. And I think the board's heard every argument on either side that anybody can conceive of. Well, there are a few facts. Headquarters Green Mountain Falls Foundation has proposed placing the Dewey Mountain Trailhead 725 feet east of Mr. Patron's house, 625 feet southeast of Mrs. Hargrave's house, 230 feet east of Mr. Causey's house. Green Mountain Falls Trails Committee agrees with Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation. Number two, Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation has the legal right to use Myrtle Street right away to access their property. You should note that they could have decided to pay for a 20-foot wide street extension or a 10-foot wide driveway. Instead, they decided on a 2-foot wide trail that would provide adequate access for their needs. That is an environmentally sound decision. People have the right to walk on public streets. Homeowners cannot deny them that right. I would appeal to the board, let's move forward. For over 10 months now, we've heard arguments on both sides. We've had 3 long public hearings, this is the 4th, and numerous correspondence. Your inboxes are full. It's time to find closure on this item with a vote tonight. Please do not continue the hearings again. Please vote tonight to agree with the request from the landowner, Historic Green Mountain Falls Foundation, to have the trailhead on East Myrtle. I'm available for any questions.
Mr. Bratton, you had made a mention to the trail being moved 200 something feet from Mr. Corsi's house, and unfortunately he left already.
So trailhead,
The trailhead.
yes.
So that's not where we were looking, that's not the same location we were looking at.
No, if you read the letter from historic.
I'm just thinking, I'm publicly.
You move, oh, the foundation has to move the trailhead 260 feet farther east, which will be 230 feet from Mr. Corsi's house. Before, it was much closer to the house. So, the foundation has proposed a solution. Glasses. Oh. Thank you, Richard.
My name is Justice Stroke, and I am here as a representative for the Historic Falls Foundation. And I just want to summarize that our intent in purchasing that property was to protect and preserve it and to reestablish an existing trail system.
Jesse, could you speak up, please?
We have listened to public input through the public hearings. We have received telephone calls, we've looked at emails, we've had a lot of communication about this. And we've tried to take every one of those considerations into account and overcome them. Moving the trailhead past Mr. Kersey's house, who submitted the application, we found that we asked that that be moved. Mrs. Hargrave had an issue with the access trail being too close to her home, and we accommodated that and moved it. And so on every level that we've heard a complaint, we tried to overcome that. In the meantime, we formed over the course of a year an advisory panel and looked at the environmental impact, fire mitigation plans, and we have an existing trail system with 8 social trails that trespass across people's properties. It's disorganized, and we are ready to go work, starting at the end of Myrtle Street, to organize our trail system, to get fire mitigation programming in place, to begin removing flag fuels. At this time, East Myrtle Street is our best location. We want to do that. We will certainly continue to work on and listen and try to find other ways to overcome any kind of pressures that we are applying to the movement. And I will say that we're not new to managing the trail system here. We have the trails of She Lost Reserve. And there was some opposition to those trails when we opened back to the public. We've had no nuisance complaints. In summary, I'll just say that we did ask to move that trailhead location to the end of Myrtle Street, where it intersects our property. And we would also submit that if the board can't support that, that we would simply put the trailhead on our property.
So put the trailhead on your property, meaning at the end of Myrtle Street right there, because your property backs up right there to Myrtle Street.
So we would,
It's adjacent.
so we would look at actually putting the trailhead on our property adjacent to Myrtle Street.
Which is what Mr. Bratton was talking about right there. Questions here?
When you assess the trailhead, what's that?
What does that entail? Signage that would give around the trail.
Pardon, can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, it would simply be signage like we have in Mid Street or like we have in the HB Lost Reserve that would be a map of the trail.
So you have to get, the bottom line is you have to get access to your property. I mean, yeah.
Board, that is something that should be very clear, you know, well, it's not necessarily on the town to go and open the street. Um, Usually that's the fight between the property owner and the developer or something owner of the property as to who's gonna actually pay to open that. To the extent that they wanted to do that, they could open the first street. In other words, they can pay to have that street opened all the way to their trailhead. So that is something that you should be aware of. That, there's nothing the town can do to say, you know, we don't want this trailhead here, on the super wide path, that they could turn around and say, we're gonna open the street.
So where is the end of Myrtle Street, if that were to get opened, where would that be?
It'd be as platted, and that's certainly, I mean, it's not a small cost, I'm sure you guys are aware of that, but that is something to be aware of, that, you know, decision before the board is, you know, again, you guys can't walk up our streets, you can't use our streets. It's more of, how do we want to do this? Essentially, they come and said, here, this is what we're thinking. When they could have come and said, we're gonna open the whole street.
So what is the decision? And so I often, you guys, like, go back to the question, like, why are we
What are you being
discussing?
asked?
Yeah, because,
It seems to me, and he's probably a good person to correct me if I'm incorrect, but the board is being asked to say, well, let me back up. Part of the hard part of it, coming into a new municipality, is figuring out where everyone is. What you granted the planning commission to do, what powers they have, what you delegated, what powers you delegated to your clerk, you know, where, kind of figure out where everything is. And one of the big oversights actually stems from the reason I think Mr. Bratton apologizes, the understanding that the Trails Committee is similar to your planning commission. Their authority comes from you. So you're not sitting where you need to necessarily get an agreement in writing, other than historically, so your clerk can maybe not even necessarily in this board and this attorney and these citizens, but in 50 years from now, say, what did they do again? And that's more we need to document, less so on who has the right to do it. The authority rests with you to tell the Trails Committee, yeah, you can go ahead and do this. How and who does it, we can talk about that in CERCLA and things like that. But it could, and as you guys understand, this trailhead could get built right in the middle of the road right now. 50 years from now, property changes, and they say, we do want to open that street. Well, you essentially now are telling your committee, your trails committee, okay, well, we're going to open that street, so move the trailhead here. You're not really necessarily giving up your right to open the street, you're not giving up any of your rights, you're just telling them, go ahead and do that. I think they're pretty well aware, Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're well aware that that could happen. It probably won't happen in our lifetime, but it could. So the question before, it sounds like they're asking, is there, you know, would it be all right if you directed the Trails Committee to build this trail in the right of way, knowing that, you know, we're not really saying we're promising not to ever open that street, we're promising not to change it, but is it okay if your subcommittee, like, you know, arm of this board, builds this trailhead in the town right of way? It's not, prior I was under the impression the Trails Committee was a separate private entity, and that's similar to, well, again, I'm telling you that, you know, this is part of the hard part to come in and say, okay, well, where is everybody? So understanding that, if they had been a private entity, I would suggest what I suggested with Lewis, which is you grant them an encroachment agreement and say, hey, you can do whatever you want here within this frame, and if we change our mind, it's all on you to fix it. Here you're saying, you know, right arm of the body, go ahead and do that, even if later the left arm is going to come and push the trailhead down onto his property.
Information. to Reynolds Street right away is 20 feet wide. The trail is proposed to be 2 feet wide. That leaves 38 feet where you can put a driveway or a street in there at any time. Furthermore, let's say it's a street. The public has the right to walk on that street, so you don't need the trail. So the future of East Myrtle right away is not going to be affected by a 2-foot wide trail.
So Jesse, what are you needing from us?
I'm asking for your permission to establish a trail head along this street. Application specified.
And that's what I'm saying, is I wouldn't have you guys, I was under the impression the Trails Committee was going to, not the foundation.
And they have, and we've supported that. And as the undertaking of this road.
Is it only a semantical difference? That the
Yeah,
Trails
that's what I'm
Committee-
saying, it's,
Trails Committee's not asking for this. The foundation is the landowner's asking for this.
well, and
And
that's
he
what I'm
did-
saying.
Did that in writing in a letter to you.
That puts back to the approach agreement, right? So,
Trails Committee wants to build a trailhead on the right of way.
to help with access to,
Which will
to that, that's
have to be funded through funding.
yeah, and the funding and all that, that's fine. It's, who are you gonna grant the authority to? And if you're gonna grant it to a foundation, then we look at the encroachment agreement. If you're gonna grant the authority to construct this, be it funded by them, grant it to your right hand rather than the second party or third party. And it is semantics, it's not, I'm not trying, I'm trying to make it so that 50 years from now, this isn't something that the town now all of a sudden, you know, someone else owns something and wants to build on it, and they've got a trail that they can't do anything with. So,
Just to further complicate it, do you anticipate a similar easement as was in HGLS to the trail to the back about as well in the future perhaps?
Yes, so there is a 25-year easement on the trails that each cross.
Do we have to accept that as a tenant, or is that just a public easement?
That is something that we offered during HGLS that we wouldn't have to offer.
did you dedicate that to the town, or did you dedicate that to the general public?
I think that's on town property.
Is it?
Yeah, that's.
To the extent that you're gonna dedicate something to the town, then make the town actually acknowledge the dedication. For instance, if you were gonna dedicate a piece of property for a park purpose, the reason they make you, as a town, accept that dedication is, in northern Colorado right now, there's a dump site that was a dump 200 years ago. And that landowner dedicated that park, and now the city is literally stuck with cleaning up all that toxic stuff. So that's, it's a two-step process. And I'm not saying you're donating taxes, toxic, anything like that, but if you're gonna dedicate something to the town, make sure that they give you an acknowledgement of dedication.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the citizens, people out in the audience tonight? Okay, so we're gonna close the public hearing at 9:26. Board, we're in a regular meeting. And I'd like to hear from you guys on your thoughts on this. Trustee Burke, I'm gonna start us off here. Thanks. Okay, I should have started down there. And board, feel free to, let's have a discussion here, this is an important thing. Okay.
It's a mixed issue. But stand one, that if we had to go through this process for every trail, there would be no threat. There would be somebody that would be against it, period. I think we're basing a lot of the things we've heard on assumptions. We're assuming how many people are gonna use it. We're assuming it's gonna cause a problem. We're assuming it's gonna do this, we're assuming we're gonna have people come back here. We're assuming that everybody's coming up with what you're breaking around. Most of them are assumptions. Well, there are other trails that walk through town. Have not had a flagrant problem. Is that what this town is a lot based on? Is trails? Yes. It's viable to me. There will be an initial usage that will die off. It will not be horrendously great. And it doesn't mean we can't steer the boat after we do this too. Who knows about, the impact? We don't know the impact of this. We don't know the impact of anything. And so we're making assumptions, and then this thing about not in my backyard. I have issues. So I would certainly, and I was looking at the right word on this, and I am still in favor of endorsing the concept of the trails at this point. Where this goes, the rest of the world, but I would still stand for that historically is what this is. I witness people walking up and down my street every single day. It's not been an issue. Is it horrendous at times? No. No, it isn't. Impact, no. And then you add in the fact that it is public right away. So really in there, when you consider it public right away, this to me is still the best way for the board, the town, to control the activity. It's by giving the trails committee the so that's the
Okay. I'm gonna go back here. Start on that end, trustee Quinn.
Regarding this issue, I try to keep in mind that we're not talking about allowing a trail on the Dewey open space. That is private property, and the trail is, that's not what we're discussing here. And I understand the, opposition, noted erosion, parking, things of that nature. And unfortunately, we're talking about public right-of-way, and that really is the key for me. As far as where the trailhead goes, I think it's most appropriate if you're going to put some signage and all of that stuff that it belongs on the private property. I think that's a decent idea. It is, again, semantics, but the trailhead is wherever you're starting to enter into that area. Right now, it's not a developed road, so the trailhead effectively would wherever the road stops. But it is a public right of way, and that I don't think that there's any restrictions that we could put on a public walking accessing their property. The erosion, the parking issues are everywhere, and yes, they may, I heard arguments in the summertime, there's people parking everywhere. Well, if it's allowed on the public right of way, unfortunately, that's what occurs. Unless we do something to restrict it somehow. I mean, if there's parking allowed on any of these public roads, within the law, then that's what's going to happen. Unfortunately, for some people. I support the idea of allowing the Trails Committee to access the HGMF property, which they own and control. They always say, if you want to control what your neighbor's doing, you should buy a property. I don't mean to be dismissive about that, but that's American way. But the public right away, the public does have access, and you know, that to me is the biggest issue of all this is, do we allow our public to access property that's been granted for recreation through public property, and I believe that we should not restrict that.
Trustee Ellis.
I'd like to begin with a point of information from Mr. Crowe on this. That is that I think we have covered and have established that we cannot limit access, as Mr. Quinn has said, to public rights of way. Whether they be a paved road like UPass Avenue, or whether they be lesser kind of road anywhere in our community, but is designated as public access. Secondly, if the private landowners are now saying that they will install a trail on their property, no other access. And my question is, this is a point of information, what do we have to vote on?
Well, that's what I'm saying. First off, you can limit, reduce direct access on public rights of way. For instance, you do that when you have a special event and he closes down the street and says, "I'm not driving down here." So there are specific times when you can. This doesn't seem to be one of them. You know, I would imagine if Michael was going to repair a pothole in the middle of the street, I would hope that the chief would put something out there to limit or reduce or, you know, pretty much eliminate the potential for someone to use that access during that period of time. Permanently, I haven't seen anything that would be a reason to limit that access now. So, no, I don't think you can put up you can't walk down the street sign. I don't think you have a reason to do that. A special event, pothole repair, things like that, that's other reasons to limit that access. The second point is, if the landowner puts the trailhead on the private property, you've still got this, well, are we as a board gonna say, in order to route the access on our right of way, we're gonna authorize the Trails Committee to construct a route to the private property. So I guess it's the question of whether the board wants to control that access on the right of way or allow the use of the full 40-foot right of way. Does that mean that if you put a path down the middle, I guess you would hope that people would walk down the path. But if someone's out there and has a survey tool and wants to walk on the line all the way down, and again, there's not really anything that the board can do to do that other than say, please walk on the path and designate that. So I think the option that the Trails Committee has given you is to say, you know, we'll help direct people, we'll help with erosion control. You know, you guys have heard the same information I've heard in South here, but there's nothing I can see safety-wise, public health, welfare, any of that would say there's a reason to prohibit access. There seems to be at least one person on each side of this, so I don't envy your position.
Trustee Butts?
Trustee Ellis took the words right out of my mouth. That was the exact question I was going to ask. So, in essence, just to restate, there is nothing that we can vote against. The only thing that we're voting for is whether we would like to control the process by using the Trails Committee. Is that a simplification or?
Yeah. So semantics again, probably, but just to be clear, you have the option to say, yeah, Trailhead, go ahead and make the access that we would hope people will go down and use from, you know, the unimproved street to the private property, that section. Whether you want to grant them the authority to do that or not grant it.
So could they come back and have an idea of that route and present it to the board for us? I mean,
I think I was under the impression that they have presented that route.
right, but if it goes, if the trailhead now goes to their property, at the base, the bottom of their property, not in front of Mr. Corsett's house, so the trailhead is now a little further, is it possible to maybe reroute it?
I think the trailhead is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm understanding the trailhead to be whether we put the sign at the end of the improvement, so where you graded your road, or whether you put the sign at the private property. Now, whether you know, the foundation can put the sign there without our consent. The idea, I guess, maybe that's part of what you need to decide is whether you want that trailhead sign there or a trailhead here. And I think that is probably minorly correlated with whether you want the path to follow the proposed path that the subdivision board is proposed to install by funds through the foundation.
Okay, this has been going on for a long time. I think we ought to go for it, let it go, let the foundation take it over and do it, put the sign on there and go. I'm done.
See you on 30 more days.
Appreciate the thought.
Okay. Trustee Stevens?
I've heard a lot of concerns, a lot of opposition to the trail. The trail, I certainly recognize and heard it. I personally don't agree with much of the anticipated impacts that the opposition is presenting. Additionally, I do not see this as a discussion as to whether or not the Dewey Mountain Trail should exist. It already does exist, and we are simply rerouting and providing a better, safer, more established trail that will be well maintained, provide recreational hikers the opportunity to have a south-facing slope. And to the great benefit of this community, Historic Mountain Falls Foundation has seen fit to protect that viewscape as well as provide a formal way for the trails community to maintain an existing social trail that's historically been there for at least 50 years, probably hundreds of years up there that is in need of some attention to prevent erosion. And I think that putting the trailhead at the end of the improvement is the appropriate place to put that, to welcome people onto that trail, and the squabbles between all the discussion as to whether it ends up at the private property or at the end of the improvement, I don't see as germane. 2 years down the road when people are using the trail. People wonder, well, why is there a trail without a trailhead at the end of an improvement? It makes more sense where the road stops to have a trailhead, just like the rest of this community, to welcome people onto the trail and direct them to the appropriate place and perhaps appropriate posting relating to that rather than what could appear to be a social trail. And my concern with moving that trailhead to the private property is you have then maybe 200 feet, I see 260 there, I don't know if that's the whole length, but whatever that distance is, where people will not have any direction, will not be formally welcomed to the trail for use and directed to, hey, this is the trail, please stay on it, please don't wander off. And you have a greater potential to be able to wander on private property inappropriately without that trailhead on the public right of way.
But there could be a sign that says trailhead with an arrow this way.
That'd be two trailheads.
Well, just a sign direction. No, I don't understand what you're saying then.
This trailhead or this, so trailhead is the same information. Welcome to the trail, blah, blah, blah.
Or you could say trail, please, yeah, some wording.
Why wouldn't you just do it there?
because I definitely don't like this location in front of this house.
What's that gonna do?
And people congregate right here, it's way close. I am more apt to like this second proposal.
How do people get from here to there?
Well, they'll have to walk.
But how do they know to use that trail?
Well, because we should extend Marble Street on out.
Do you want to develop Marble Street?
I do.
I think if you don't put it on the right of way, people are just as apt to continue straight up and go right in front of the park.
And Mayor, that's my point. In prior, the reason to not have the third party do it is because right now, there's nothing like granting the trails committee the authority to do this. There's nothing that says tomorrow you can hold a special meeting and say develop that road. That's the intent behind the board deciding whether it wants to grant the authority to develop the public right of way from wherever the board says go do it to it. Essentially, it's right on, rather than the third party. Because even though we write the encroachment agreements to say, you put, who knows if we want to down on your front porch, it's still a battle to do it, even though at the end, it's pretty clear, it's still a battle, it's still something they're gonna fight. That's why my suggestion is that if you're contemplating having controlled access in the public area, you do it through an arm of this board, through an authority that you grant, rather than to the third party. It just prevents the fight further down the road. The fight with yourself is pretty simple. I mean, if they get partway through, that's something that should be clear. As the Trails Committee starts building something, let's say the board grants them the authority, and now all of a sudden there's 15 cars parked up on Myrtle Street to the east, and they're blocking access. There's nothing that's preventing this board from saying, that's it, it's not gonna work, move your stuff out. Trails Committee now go move all that stuff and put 15 cars in there, done. So the closer you keep that authority on your body, the easier it is to control. If you put it too far down, and I'm not trying to say that the foundation would do this, but if the foundation starts going down a road you don't want them to, it's a lot harder to just backpedal and to fix it. So the idea is, what do you want to do with the town's property? We can't tell him what he can do with his property. Again, we don't like what your neighbors do and buy their property. They did. They liked what they were doing. They bought the property. So they're going to do what they want to do. The question before the board is, what do you want to do with the town's property? Nothing. Say we don't like this idea, come back with something different, or do you like this idea? I mean, it's been presented, go do it. That's essentially the question before the board right now.
Mayor, the easiest way to that trailhead, I live right there in the neighborhood, is right up in front of this Starbucks house. So the reason the Trails Committee, that was their primary thing. Without the trailhead where on the town's right of way, it's just as easy to get up there. If you've never been, once you go on it once, you'll know it. If you've never been up there, then that's the easiest way.
As far as great sense.
Straight up.
So I was thinking it this way, Lou. Any signs that are on a public right of way, you control that. So if we want to put a sign on our public right of way that says the trailhead is 260 feet down this path, we can certainly do that, and we can remove it anytime. We control signage in this town. So the fact that you're being hung up on trailhead, they can put a carnival, well, maybe they can't, but you know what I'm saying? They can put some extravagant thing on their property to mark where their property is, and don't get hung up on trailhead. It's just allowing the Trails Committee to kind of develop up that access that's currently there. And if we need any signage, or if they recommend signage, we have that opportunity down the road to approve any signage. We do have some emergencies.
So, you guys aren't gonna like my thought here, but I know. I do not like the idea of hikers hiking up Myrtle Street. Now, the side streets, Grandview or whatever, are not Myrtle, but Catamount, apologies, Catamount Street. That's a concern to me. That road is super, super steep. It's not in the best condition, in my opinion. Someone comes around real fast, we could have hikers there. I don't like that. I want to make sure, you guys are not gonna like this at all, that we've exhausted all other possibilities. I hear the moaning in the audience, I know. I would like to go back to the Catamount people, those residents, and say, okay, if you don't want it in your backyard, it's gonna have to be in someone's backyard. And so I would like you more to present your ideas. You've given us Catamount, you've given us Belvedere. Catamount, in my opinion, is a question. It is way too far to even get to the point of where you would even access doing that. You know, Belvedere, we've heard Belvedere, but I don't know exactly where on Belvedere you guys are thinking. I would like the people that are in opposition to come back and say, okay, these are my ideas. I think there could be other opportunities with existing trails that we haven't looked at closely. I do like what Jesse said, how you guys are committed to continuing to look at this. I would like to, I know, you know, getting a trail, what you do with your property is great, but knowing that there are so many concerns with our citizens over there, and it's hard, this is a challenge. I know if you buy a property and there's a trailhead there already, then you know, this is the one point I keep going back to that I have a hard time. If you own a home and there's not a trailhead there, there's social trails, yes, but there's not a trailhead there, to me, it's a different thing, and I can totally I can relate totally, because I would not like people right in front of my house. So.
I think it's two separate things. I thought you were done.
Yeah, so I really would like to ask the people who don't want that trailhead there for more options. That's what I would like, but I know I'm one of seven. I'm one of seven people. I just want to make sure that we're listening, and that I want to make sure we don't rush into something without making sure we've explored all other options. Okay, I would love to have maps on the walls, or like what we did with Town Hall, and say, okay, here's a whatever, here's an option, we can't do it because of this and this and this. But at the same time, it's hard because they need access to their property and we can't say no. And so it's really.
Well, and maybe to ease some of that, you know, there's look at all the bad effects that are gonna happen. So here again, going back to, let's keep this as close to the board's authority as we can. Let's say tonight, I mean, obviously tonight's board says, no, we don't want you to build it. The Trails Committee, being the right arm of this board, is not gonna go with the same. That would be a bad idea. Because then this board is gonna say, go move it and take it out. So let's obviously that's kind of a separate issue. If the board tonight says, okay, go for it. They build it, turns out in 3 weeks you've had 50 complaints to all of your police department, El Paso's been up here, it's ridiculous. There are people just partying at the trailhead, and you guys, citizens, there's not a question out there that this is a bad idea. There's nothing that this board, granted that they have said to the Trails Committee, go build it, that prevents this board from saying, go take it down.
At any time.
This is essentially the same thing as you directing staff. And that staff, they're appointed, correct? They're appointed by this. Okay. So again, still a learning curve, and I'll definitely take responsibility for that. But there's nothing that this board right now is going to delegate, and that's why I'm trying to not delegate it to the foundation. I don't have anything against the foundation at all. There's nothing that you are giving up and saying, go do this. It was essentially like you telling him, go put a engaged 4x4 on this street over here, it's steep. Well, now people are tearing up the dirt because they're going up there in 4-wheel drive instead of 2-wheel drive, and it's fine to bank it. Go back and go, take that down. The same thing. The question before the board is, do you want to have control over this asset? And again, the historic foundation, I guess it's a 40-foot wide right of way, which is an animal of its own. So, you know, if you want to, there's again, if the board doesn't want control, you can say, no, we're not gonna do that tonight. There's nothing from stopping him from coming in as a representative to her and saying, need a permit to open that, you got a grader ready. So, you know, yeah, I bought this property and it was like this. There are people who bought downtown Chicago lots. They're not the same. No, this isn't downtown Chicago, but things change. I mean, it's not to say, it literally is, how much control do you want to have over this right of way?
I think the build on that point though is, if we do nothing, public can still walk down that social trail. I mean, there's no way to
Unless they
to
close
stop
that,
and mitigate
there's
that.
social channels.
No, even if
they're open,
so
It's still under a public
Right.
right of way, so they can still
Right.
walk down there. There's
Exactly.
nothing that you can do.
If we don't bring.
if you don't have authority to do this, you, instead of having people march down, this is what I'm going off of, so real quick. If you don't say, put the trail here, although we would hope that people would say, oh, there's a trail, I'm gonna follow this line. There's really still nothing stopping someone from walking right here.
Right.
And then having their friend walk right here. I mean, having shoulder to shoulder people walking down the street. That's, absent traffic control issues, you're not gonna, I mean, there's nothing that this board, the option before this board isn't to say, you will walk in a single file line on this. It's, look, we're gonna authorize them to put this trail in, to walk here. Hopefully most people will follow it. The people that use your trail seem to be, by and large, respectful. So the hope is that they would do that. But they're still, even after you guys grant that authority, there's nothing that prevents them from doing that. And there's still, even after you grant that authority, nothing that prevents the foundation from saying, we're gonna open the street. And they're gonna fund both of those projects. So, I mean, it literally is, do you wanna have control over where it is? And that doesn't say this is your only swing at the bat. So if you say go for it, and it turns out that's a bad idea, revisit. It's just like, I mean, the planning commission authority gets changed all the time for municipalities. We want you to guys, we don't even want to hear about fence permits, you guys take care of it. No, we get a lot of fence permits, this is, you guys are kind of granting them, bring it back to us. You can approve it with a recommendation to us and then we'll look at it. Okay, never mind, there's one every 10, I mean, you can change what authority you're delegating, especially when it's done this close.
Mary, you mentioned the grade on Catamount, that it's all that, but if it's too steep, people aren't gonna walk it. There'll be less people if it's too steep. I don't like walking. I don't like walking.
And I heard something in, that you guys are closing it to mountain bikers, is that correct?
Yes, it was brought up during the last meeting. Our environmental study did not look at biking and did not include that, and so we just decided to withdraw that.
So I like that better. So you don't have them going down and people coming.
And even still,
That's
somebody
not-
can ride their bike down the town right away along this property line as much as they
That's their
like.
decision.
They can prevent them with their own reserve.
At that trailhead, they can stop. So, you know, there's.
They won't unless you aim them at it.
What's that?
So they won't go down that road unless you aim them at it.
No, they'll go up Catamount.
I've driven up there.
You need to.
There ain't nowhere.
Okay.
Well, that's the crux of the matter. People don't go up there now because they just don't. But if you direct them there, they're gonna go.
Not gonna stop them, man.
Well, the idea that somehow the people who are opposed to the trailhead on Myrtle Street are trying to deny the foundation access to their property is ridiculous. Nobody's said that, nobody's mentioned it, nobody's breathed it.
And I don't think that's what the
What
board's
what they don't wanna see is a couple of hundred people a week wandering up through the neighborhood. I don't think that's.
Well, Mac, that's what I just said, was that if they say go for it, and it turns out that there are, I'm positive that if there are 100 people walking up there, that you'll be here to tell the board, you guys said build this trail, now there's 100 people up there. I'm positive you will. I highly doubt you'll be alone. And that's what I'm trying to explain to the board, is when they say go, that's not go and they step back and it's like, well, we said go, sorry, we can't do anything. That's, all right, we said go. Now you have 10 citizens that came in and said, there are 100 people here, there's 50 cars up there. He's got 45 parking tickets that he's written per day that they've had the trail open. Maybe the board's gonna revisit that. That's what I'm saying. You know, we're trying to find the middle ground between, no, you can't use this right of way at all. Don't even think about walking down there. And sure, go for it. You can do whatever you want. We're trying to keep it as close to the authority of the board to say, this is our town, you've elected us to take care of things in here. We're still gonna have control over this. We don't have control over once they get to the trailhead. If someone's riding a mountain bike down your path and you don't want them there, I mean, you're gonna have to call them.
Well, I get, it's hard to understand why not exercising control today, nobody wanders around up there. But when you start exercising control is when they're gonna start.
Been hiking up there for 100 years.
Well, you know,
What do you mean?
I understand that, but one or two or three, it's not, you know, we're not talking about dozens of people.
Mr. Patron, thank you. Okay,
I think we mentioned last meeting that we were gonna put up a sign.
okay, yeah,
Why else
I
the
think
rest?
guys,
We'll put up a sign.
please, order, thank you. Okay, yes,
First, I'd like I'd move that given the excessive consideration by our own Trails Committee and the really patient work by the Historic Falls Foundation in exploring and listening to input from surrounding neighbors, that the Board of Trustees authorizes and directs the Trails Committee to work collaboratively with the Historic Emerald Falls Committee Foundation to place the trailhead at the end of the improved portion of Myrtle Street to direct hikers to the future Dune Mountain Trail.
that's the, what are you saying?
That's
Okay,
motion. Second.
okay, discussion on that. So are you saying this where, across from Mr. Corsett's house?
I don't know what it is. I'm saying where the improved road, driven, drivable road ends, have a trailhead there. The trailhead sounds too imposing. I want a sign there indicating that the trail's in it. You want to call it trailhead, we can. You want to call it a sign, we can.
But the trailhead is actually on their property.
It's just where it starts. You call it.
And again,
I want a sign there, trailhead.
It's away.
so that it's clear, if they put up a sign you don't like, then tell them to take it down. If they put up a sign that doesn't conform with your sign code, if this board says that's not what we want, you tell them to move. And that's what I'm saying, is this keeps the control at the board.
I would think any sign that goes out like this right away would have to go for approval.
That go before the planning commission?
I believe your planning commission reviews sign code.
But just to speak about that, motion was that Historic Green Mountain Falls and the Trails Committee work together to decide where the best trailhead is. And whenever that sign comes up, if they decide to put it out there on their property together, then that's where it'll be. They don't need our say so. Correct on that one.
If the foundation puts a sign on their property that complies with sign code,
We we don't get any say.
You don't get a say.
If together, they say, hey, we need to improve, this is the sign, this is the, whether it's a trailhead marker, whether it's a full, trailhead, whatever they say, then it's gonna come before the planning commission, and they're gonna get the say so.
Do we have approval over town signs though? Like town signs on public property, like planning commission?
Yeah, you have authority over town, signs within the town limits. So if Blue Moose puts up a sign that doesn't comply with your sign code, even though they don't.
Right, but if the town limits sign that doesn't comply with its own code.
Yeah, there are very few places where the town does not comply with the key cruise. I don't believe that's one of them, but I'll let that.
We just, tonight, we don't get to make the decision of whether the trail's gonna go there or not. We just get to decide whether we get to be any part of it.
Okay. Like, we definitely need to be part of it.
Then there you go.
I agree with that. We need to be. Is there any more discussion?
I think we also need to ensure that whatever path that access trail down the right of way is going to take, that it does in fact lie within the confines of the right.
So do we need more, a survey or something? We have everything we need in order to make sure?
There are monuments, survey monuments already in place.
Yeah, it looks like there's, I mean, if I'm reading this right, there's at least 2 rebar stakes and a pin.
Yeah.
I mean, you have impact study done, but they, you have, yeah, laid 3 pins.
You know where your property lines are, right? So then we can safely say it's 40 feet from that frontage.
It looks like, again, that's semantics. That's one of the things where you still hold the authority that says, hey, trails committee, you put it in the wrong place. Move it 2 feet this way.
You won't put it down.
But if we do, we'll move it.
There might be some other things that are in the wrong place right now.
So okay, any other comments? Motion second, any more discussion on this? I will just say that this has been one of those things that, as an elected official, is just very challenging. Okay? This has kept me out for years because I'm like, oh, I hear both sides of this passionately. I love our trails. I am so thankful to the Trails Committee for what they do for our community. I'm so excited about having trails come out doing, you know, and I thank you guys. I really think it's gonna help mitigate stuff up there. I think it's gonna be so much better. With that said though, I have 34 signatures of people in our community, and I cannot agree to this. So I will be the negative vote here. So it's very hard, but I know that if I was in that community, then I know I would probably be the same way. And it's one of those hard decisions to have to make. So anyway, so I will probably be the lone vote here. But I feel like that's in my heart the right thing. So, okay. And with that said, I would like to just say, please continue looking at other options to see if there's any way, you know, who knows what will happen. I mean, there could be other access somewhere else that could pop up, and I don't know, but there could be. So that's fine. Those are my 2 cents. Okay, is there any more discussion? Okay. Call for a vote though. All those in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Or yes? I vote no.
Nay.
Nay.
You have to count the votes, so.
Nay. It's a nay. Okay, so, oh, so there were 6 yeas, and the motion passed, and one no.
So I don't understand where we stand in as far as the trails go.
So, you guys go and.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Go for it.
Okay.
And thank you, and thanks y'all for what you do. Okay, moving right along. Reports, mayor report, I have no report this evening. Trustee Quinn? Trustee Butts?
It's Robert Thompson replied back to you. I know we had as a bit of that. So as of right now, the Mary has
You guys need to keep it down.
Let's finish up, you guys.
Mary submitted to DOLA the request for our in-kind donation. We've heard nothing as of yet.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Butts. Trustee Stevens?
PPACG and RTA, we met last week, and the Community Development Advisory Board will be doing one of the final meetings for our marathon meeting tomorrow. And the Regional Building Commission meets.
Thank you, and thank you for representing us. Okay, Trustee Gardner?
Yes, today I got Epic Laser breakdown. I will have more information about the 4th of July laser show within the next 2 weeks to bring to the board, and that we can go forward on that. So that's what we'd like to do.
Great. Very good. Okay, Trustee Ellis? Okay. Trustee Cook?
My last report. You will find in your packets information that Michael Monahan has put together. Many meetings ago, there was some discussion about creating the wish list of things that needed to be done and start to plan for things. And what you will see are some of the more immediate needs that have come up within the public works. Not to take a lot of time going through these, what I suggest is that you review this and get a hold of Michael individually to discuss these so that he can explain what all of this is rather than going through this at this late hour. Okay? There are some he offers some options on things, and he would, be more than willing to discuss what those options are and why there's an immediate need for some of these issues. So we'll leave it to that, this way to go through this.
Michael, is this prioritized?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, Mary?
No.
Matt?
Yeah, I have a report, actually. There's about 2 staff members. One of which, there's an example of excellent work by your clerk to send out correspondence to your citizens on your behalf that are neutral, and I really wish the proponent or the opponent of this was here, but it's neutral, it provides facts, it clearly states that we want to hear from you before a decision is made. Here's both sides, which side are you on? Here's all of the different ways you may tell us. That is not an easy thing to do. So the fact that that went out, I didn't review this. It's not something I drafted. This was your clerk working on your behalf. The other one is this report from your public works. And other than staff input, which this board desperately needs, on which of the options that Michael proposed, yes, because part of what you do when you hire us as staff is say, we trust you, tell us what you think. And I told him that, make sure you put your input on here so that the board has the information and your opinion. We don't make your decisions. We give you all the information. We tell you what we think. That's the first half of our job. The second half, we go do it. These are 2 good examples of 2 new hires that are still rather untrained, much to maybe the board's non-hope, but of excellent work that is how things should work in a town. So that's my report. I see a lot of reports like these. I see letters like these all the time. I see reports like this, and you have 2 very skilled workers, and that ignores the chief because I pick on him at court. So.
I was about to say, what about him?
Oh, I pick on him about once a month. Usually the first Tuesday. So anyone who's bored and wants to come see me pick on the chief, then come to court.
report, sir?
Well, we had just very brief. We've had about 6 inches of snow in the last 2 weeks, 2 snow events. We're about up to 62.5 inches total for the year. Wow. And we've done a little work to the plow on the GMC. We've added another trip spring because the plow is kind of worn a little bit, so we added the trip spring so the plow doesn't trip forward all the time. We added another spring to it. And just as a final note, I didn't put in my report, they have finished the concrete work up there on Ann Street. So that's done, so it's just curing now. So for the next week or two, we'll be able to get up there and finish the grading and get it all finished up. It'll look really good.
Thank you.
They did
It
great.
does look good.
Thank you. Thank you. Those guys really busted up there. They did a good job.
Excellent, thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you, Chief.
In your packet should have been the year-end report from last year that didn't get posted the first of the year because of the meeting postponement. It's also the report that was submitted for the last board meeting. That we ran out of time, it never got disclosed. And just for clarification, we talked about this. Apparently, I've heard some people don't understand, but it's once a month. The first meeting of every month is when my report's coming out, not every 2 meetings a month. So there will be one coming next board meeting.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Okay. Is there any municipal correspondence? No? Okay. And I just want to say thank y'all, staff, new hire, and what a great bunch of people. So thank you for all you do. Matt, thank you. And yes, Chairman?
Do you have a copy of the IGA with regional yet?
No. Contacted them today. I don't know what's going on there.
He just got back from vacation.
Well, the assistant said he's getting ready to draft, he's gonna be drafting it, and I said, well, it's already been drafted. We just need him to sign it and bring it back, so I don't know, maybe you're gonna have to follow up.
We'll track it down. It may be in my box. That's not the place to be.
And board, with your new trustee liaison position, I just encourage you guys to touch base with your people. And anyway, okay? There's no other business. The meeting is adjourned at 10:20. Thank you all.
No, I was watching. I know you're trying to move forward.